The young man stood frozen, utterly bewildered by the scene before him, as he realized he had been transported to a completely foreign world. However, the first thing Asura was forced to confront was being bound and used as monster bait. Before he could even collect his thoughts, his captors suddenly screamed in terror. "It's here!" Surrounding the small boat was the silhouette of a colossal sea monster, terrifying in its size. It thrashed and coiled its massive body, creating violent waves. Zhang Darren furrowed his brows, exclaiming, "This is bad. Weren't we told the sea monster was only half a man's height? It's beyond anything we imagined." Just one thrash of its body sent the boat rocking violently, nearly capsizing it. Terror filled Zhang's face as he yelled, "Everyone, it's too big. It's coming right at us." Zhang Darren spread his legs wide, bracing himself for battle. Unleashing the technique, 10 years of painstaking study, unparalleled in the mortal realm. A supreme martial art known as One Fist Shakes the Heavens. This moment finally had arrived. Years of tireless waiting, all for this glorious instant. "This fist carries 15 times the force. Can you withstand it?" Just as he finished speaking, a colossal sea monster suddenly surfaced. Its jaws gaped wide, ready to swallow its prey whole. A terrifying collision shattered the boat into pieces. Zhang and Asura clung to floating debris, adrift in the churning water. Panic seized Zhang, and he screamed, I can't die here." He spun around, his eyes filled with malice as he stared at Asura. Then, without warning, he drew a knife and plunged it into Ashura's hand. Asura cried out in pain and lost his grip on the wood, plunging into the icy water, his blood staining the sea crimson. His hands bound tightly, he was completely helpless. Asura tried desperately to bite through the ropes, but to no avail. The pungent stench of blood filled the air, attracting the attention of the sea monster. It began to swim closer. Asura gasped for air, his eyes fluttering open and close, his body too weak to fight any longer, as despair threatened to consume him. The image of his beloved father flashed through his mind. His father's earnest voice echoed in his ears. "Asura, you fool. Wake up." In that moment, he wished the vision was real, wished his father was still with him. Ashura's trembling hand reached out, trying to grasp his father's. But reality was cruel, and he only touched the cold wood of the boat. There, etched into the wood, was a carving of him and his father, a painful reminder of happier times. This was his father's boat, a vessel filled with memories. He lifted his head, taking in precious breaths. But the monstrous creature dragged him down into the depths. His desperate cry was swallowed by the icy water. Asura struggled, fighting until the very last moment. The water rose higher, engulfing him. "I try my best, father. I'm sorry." In a blink of an eye, Asura was pulled down into the abyss by the monster. Just as the monster opened its jaws to devour him, a notification unexpectedly popped up beneath the water's surface. Supreme Manner System activated. 10 Manner Spirits detected. Available for collection. 10 Manner Spirits successfully collected. Water control ability can now be awakened. More notifications continued to appear. 10 Water Monkey Manner Spirits detected. Collection in progress. Collection of 10 Manner Spirits complete. Refinement successful. Body restoration in progress. Asura suddenly opened his eyes, realizing he was still underwater. He felt an uncomfortable, itching sensation all over his body. "Didn't I just drown? I just drowned moments ago." Asura was startled. A mystical blue light enveloped him. "Why does it feel like I'm walking on land, even though I'm underwater? It seems like the water resistance has disappeared." He looked down at his hands. Asura had no idea what was happening. System notification. Water manipulation ability successfully absorbed. You are consuming stamina to control the water flow. Even more astonishing, this water manipulation ability allows you to breathe freely underwater. The wounds on your body have also completely healed. Right behind him, the sea monster glared, its green eyes filled with rage. It stared at him with a hungry gaze, and instantly opened its massive jaws. Reacting instinctively, Asura flinched in terror, raising his arms to shield himself. But then, sensing no movement, he opened his eyes. He was stunned to see the sea monster bound by streams of mystical azure water. The young man stood frozen, sweat pouring down his face. "This water, did I do this? Could this be the system that novels always talk about? So, underwater, I'm no longer limited. I can even control it." The sea monster thrashed violently, struggling to break free. Worry etched itself onto Ashue's face. His control was limited, only temporary. The moment it ended, the beast would retaliate. Knowing the dire consequences of continuing like this, he desperately searched for a way to subdue the creature. Just then, the system suddenly announced, Blood Talisman controllability has reached level 10. Effect: by using the host's blood to carve ancient runes, a contract can be made with aquatic beasts. Ashue's face lit up. That's it. The ferocious beast lunged from the depths, attacking. With lightning speed, he used his water manipulation technique, temporarily restraining the monster. But after a struggle, it broke free. Countless glowing red marks appeared on Ashue's hands. Unleashing his power, he charged towards the beast. Ashue's gaze was resolute, filled with determination. Is this a battle of wills? Am I about to lose? Strange changes began to appear on his face. Fish-like scales gradually emerged. The image of himself lying helpless in an oxygen tube flashed through his mind. Ashue vowed to himself he would survive again, no matter the cost. He unleashed his latent power, though it was still nascent. Submit to me, a voice echoed in his head. Mustering all his energy, he fought fiercely until he reached the shore. Lying on the grass by the riverbank, Ashue breathed a sigh of relief. I'm finally alive. The sea monster's silhouette suddenly emerged from the water. But this time, it no longer held its previous ferocity. Ashue looked directly at it with confidence. Of course, I've tamed this beast. Notification. Monster has submitted to Master Ashue. Refining Zheling Shui Ho Z. Fusion rate 5%. Water marsh essence. None. Primordial water beast domination. Consume 80 water marsh essence points to evolve. Shueho Zealing analysis. Originating from the great Huai, Guajiju, it has the ability to awaken hidden power within weak, fragile, and vulnerable beings. Ashue instructed it to stay put, reassuring it, stay here, don't worry, I'll summon you later if needed. After subduing it, he and the creature established a strong mental link, allowing for instant communication at any time. It could also initiate contact with him. The sea monster obediently returned to the water surface. Ashue soothed his rumbling stomach. I need to go home, find something to eat, and rest up. Fortunately, he already had a map of the area in his memories. Home wasn't too far away. The scene shifted to a small village. Steward Zheng was walking with a few others, including Tu Zhang, towards the front. The villagers standing around were gossiping amongst themselves. Who are they? It looks like they're heading towards Ashue's house. More trouble with the Zhao Manor's belongings and people. Seems like Ashue's stirred up something again. Just hearing Ashue's name, Lily Ba flinched. Oh no, something bad must have happened to Ashue. The four of them rushed to Ashue's house in the back alleys. Lily Ba thought to himself, if that brat, Ashue, kicks the bucket, won't his fortune fall into my hands? It would perfectly compensate for the disastrous failure of this mission. All because that Zhang guy was so pathetic. With that thought, he kicked down the door and plastered on a fake smile. Steward Zhang, please come in. But before he could gloat, he saw Ashue sitting comfortably inside, yawning lazily. Utterly shocked, he pointed at Ashue and stammered, how are you still alive? Ashue glanced at him with a sidelong look and asked, were you all loitering around here for? Zhang Xiang, the Zhao family steward, made his displeasure clear. Why you care so much? Mind your own business. Why are you always in such a frantic rush? Foreman Zhang hastily bowed to flatter Steward Zhang. It's him, that Ashue. Zhang Xiang laughed loudly. Oh, so you're Ashue? Imagine you're still alive. What a tenacious life you have. Foreman Zhang chimed in, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Indeed, only the good die young. Zhang Xiang, without further ado, signaled for his men to seize him. Ashue recoiled in shock, shouting, what are you doing? Foreman Zhang let out a sinister laugh and punched Ashue in the stomach, doubling him over in pain. You dare ask? Master Zhao, to protect the villagers, hired martial artist Zhang to eliminate the sea monster. And you, how dare you conspire with the sea monster? Causing martial artist Zhang harm and heavy losses to the Zhao household. The entire village was also put in danger. Je suis en crédit retorted. Clearly, you schemed and plotted to use me as bait. After luring the sea monster, the bald man laughed loudly, stepping closer to Ashue. His voice was filled with resentment. You dare return after killing Magistrate Zhang? You got some nerve. You've got guts the size of the sky. Not only that, but you're also a monster. The word monster echoed like thunder in Ashue's ears. In his mind, painful memories from his previous life came flooding back. An outcast, an orphan, always falsely accused of theft, ridiculed and scorned by everyone. Ashue clenched his fists, his eyes blazing with anger. The fat man mocked. "Oh my, there's that monster look again. Hit me if you dare." Ashue tightened his fists, his breath coming in ragged gasps, fury burning in his eyes. He gritted out each word, his voice sharp as a blade. "A monster, you say? If I'm to be called a monster, then I'll show you true brutality." Without hesitation, he lunged forward, delivering a thunderous punch to the fat man's face. The man staggered back, spitting blood, met by the horrified gazes of the surrounding crowd. Suho stood his ground, despite his powers being exposed. He refused to yield. With a fierce will to survive, he struggled with all his might, breaking free from his captor's grasp. But upon escaping, he stumbled and fell. Even so, his eyes remained sharp, burning with a fighting spirit. He gritted his teeth, vowing silently, "Even if I become the monster you say I am, I will tear you all apart." Commander Zhang slammed his fan onto the ground, his face contorted with rage as he roared, "You dare lay a hand on me? Steward Zhang, I told you, bring him to the Zhao Manor immediately. Aren't we short of people to feed that thing? This homeless brat seems quite suitable." Zhang Xiang narrowed his eyes, looking at Ashue with a calculating expression. He slowly spoke, his voice cold and cruel. "You have two choices. 1. Become Master Zhao's adopted son, and we'll forget this ever happened. 2. I'll chop off your legs today." His words hung in the air as the surrounding villagers began to murmur amongst themselves. Another adoption? I hear those taken into the Zhao Manor vanish without a trace, never to be heard from again. The Zhao Manor has been taking a lot of people lately. It's strange. Before the whispers could die down, a voice, old but commanding, boomed out, startling everyone into silence. "Let's see who dares bully young Ashue here." Everyone turned their heads. A frail yet dignified figure, leaning on a bamboo cane, slowly entered. It was the village's esteemed headman. He emphatically slammed his cane on the ground, his voice booming with authority. "I'm not at my wit's end yet." Zhang Xiang froze, his steps faltering. His face darkened, anger beginning to well up. But he restrained his fury, pointing at the old man and shouting, "Stubborn old fool!" Before he could finish, the headman glared, cutting him off with a sharp shout. You are nothing. I am an official appointed by the emperor. How dare you attack an imperial official? Even your powerful master, Zhao, shows me some respect. If you don't know your place, if you don't understand right from wrong, I will die right here, and we'll see what you dare to do." The headman's words were like a bucket of cold water thrown in Zhang Xiang's face. His face flushed crimson with rage. But he dared not act rashly, remaining silent. He gritted his teeth, venting his frustration with a menacing cold snort. "You old fool, I'll spare you for today, but mark my words, this isn't over yet." With that, he flung his sleeve and turned to leave. Commander Zhang shot Ashue a look filled with hatred, sneering, "Just like your father, a stubborn fool." He then hurried after the men from the Zhao residence. The tense atmosphere gradually subsided. The murmuring crowd dispersed. Village head Li stood silently, watching the departing figures, then slowly turned to Ashue. His voice was calm and comforting. "There are some things, if you can avoid them, you should." Ashue lowered his head, gratefully saying, "Thank you, village head. I'll remember your words." Village head Li nodded in satisfaction and turned to leave. The surrounding villagers gradually dispersed as well. Only Ashue remained, standing alone in the quiet space. He bowed his head, clenching his fists. A flicker of hope ignited within him. Maybe he could be saved this time. But what about the rest of his life? Could luck really smile on him forever? I can't keep relying on others, waiting for someone to rescue me. Ashue looked up at the vast, azure sky. A steely resolve began to form within him. This is my chance to change my destiny. The thought barely left his mind when the system notification panel materialized before his eyes. Swamp essence detected. Pet evolution progress plus 0.1. Ashue stared at the notification, bewildered, unsure of what was happening. Swamp essence. What was that? Ashue walked towards the edge of the lake. The faint moonlight reflected in his eyes, giving him an air of mystery. He raised a hand to his forehead, as if trying to connect with something unseen. After subduing the Tai, he crocodile, he could now summon it at will. through their mental link. Ripples suddenly disturbed the tranquil surface of the lake. The ripples expanded outwards, like a colossal creature lurking in the depths, waiting for the opportune moment to surface. Asura waited with bated breath, watching intently. His heart pounded in his chest. But as the water calmed, only a tiny crocodile appeared, no bigger than his arm. He frowned, looking at the creature with clear suspicion on his face. "Where's my giant crocodile?" he wondered. Immediately, a notification popped up before Ashua's eyes. Aquatic beast tamed, capable of adjusting body size at will. To control energy consumption. Evolution level +1. Current state, chibi crocodile, extremely low energy consumption. Ashua's eyes widened in surprise. Then he couldn't help but laugh out loud. He thought to himself, this system is truly overpowered, even having this kind of feature. But suddenly, he remembered something, quickly turning to ask the little crocodile, "All right, where did you find the essence of the water marsh? Lead the way." The little crocodile shook its head, then suddenly plunged into the crystal clear water. Asura took a deep breath and immediately dove after the crocodile. Beneath the deep blue water, the little crocodile swam gracefully and nimbly, leading him into a mysterious cave covered in lush green moss. Faint rays of light pierced through the water, creating shimmering, dreamlike ribbons of color. Asura couldn't help but be amazed by the magical sight. This cave was truly magnificent and breathtaking. Inside, strange plants thrived everywhere, emitting a soft, faint glow. The roots of the plants twisted like giant tentacles, emitting a mesmerizing, mysterious blue light. Suddenly, the sound of the system rang out in Ashua's mind. Treasure containing the essence of the water marsh detected. Please choose absorption method, master. Asura was stunned, speechless. Truly, this world contained countless treasures, things he had only heard of in legends. He murmured to himself, "Rumor has it that in the back garden of the Zhao Manor, there's a small island in the middle of the lake where rare spiritual herbs grow. Old Master Zhao often uses them to attract martial artists from all over. If I could find those." He shook his head, dismissing the thought. For now, these treasures are valuable enough. Asura bent down, picking up a branch, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "I wonder how much water essence this can give me." He turned to the little crocodile, chuckling. "You'll help me out a bit, won't you?" Upon hearing the request, the crocodile immediately flopped onto the ground, playing dead. Asura froze, exasperated. "You're so lazy. I should call you immobile." Resigned, he gathered the 10 treasures himself. After collecting enough, Asura climbed ashore, carefully examining the strange plant in his hand. Without hesitation, he took a bite. A cool sensation spread through his mouth, followed by a surge of magical energy flowing into his body. The system notification panel suddenly popped up. Absorbed Shui She'eshaosha. Zailing Shui Hozi fusion rate +2. Accumulated Shui Zai essence points +10. Ashuai took a deep breath, feeling the powerful energy surging through his veins. He quickly gathered the remaining treasures and continued absorbing them. Shuize Essence Plus. System notifications continuously rang out. Soon his stomach was full. Feeling so stuffed, he couldn't swallow another bite. Ashuai sat down, letting out a satisfied sigh. At this moment, the system panel appeared again. Zailing Shui Ho Z Refinement. Fusion rate 7.5%. Shui Z Essence. No dominant Shui Beast. 800 Shui Z Essence points can be used to evolve Tai Hua. He stared at the notification in surprise. Ashuai's eyes quickly scanned the compatibility stats of the Zhiling and the evolution level of the Shui show. After a moment of consideration, Ashuai decided to prioritize strengthening himself. Without hesitation, he reached out and touched the add button. Instantly, a pale green energy surged throughout Shui's body, making him feel a surge of power like a waking tiger. Energy coursed through every fiber of his being. His body began to transform, his muscles becoming firmer and more agile. The surrounding water seemed to begin obeying Ashuai's commands. His power increased dramatically. Now, his ability to control the water flow had reached 45 gene, enough to confront those who had once bullied him. But he needed to continue accumulating energy for a few more days. Today, his body had reached its absorption limit. Ashuai pondered in silence. Currently, his most pressing issue was financial. Autumn was coming to an end. This meant the crocodiles would soon be entering their hibernation period, and his fishing activities would be temporarily suspended. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed beside him. Ashue looked down and was utterly surprised to see a large fish had just landed right where he was standing. He turned around in astonishment and met the smug gaze of the little crocodile looking at him. Its little tail wagged slightly in the water. Ashue couldn't help but smile, hugging the little crocodile tightly, praising it profusely. Good job, you've got potential. His worries about his temporary financial crisis were resolved. Just taking this fish to the market to sell would solve everything. The next morning, with a heavy purse in hand, Ashue wore a satisfied smile. Such a large golden fish could be sold for 81, a considerable profit. The merchants in this world seemed much easier to persuade than the vegetable ladies back in the modern era. He realized that trading wasn't as difficult as he had imagined. His financial problems were solved, and the spiritual energy of Shui Zhe had now stabilized. And now, he needed to find time to settle the score with Zhang the ringleader. Speak of the devil, a voice called out from behind. Well, isn't that Ashue? What a surprise. We just had a slight misunderstanding the other day. I was just thinking of finding you to apologize. What a coincidence. My boat is anchored nearby. Let's have a grand meal together and clear up any misunderstandings. Don't worry, it'll just be the two of us. Zhang the ringleader smiled brightly, but his eyes flashed with cunning. Inwardly, he thought, just the two of us, huh? Let's see where you'll run to now. However, Ashue wasn't easily fooled. He smirked slightly, a mysterious glint in his eyes, facing his opponent's scheming gaze. He replied in a calm, yet suggestive tone. Very well, just the two of us. That puts me at ease. Just then, a system notification unexpectedly popped up. Notification. 80 texts received. Aquatic beast Ting Shui Ho Z is immobilized. Compatibility. 7.5%. The night was still and quiet. The faint moonlight bathing the small courtyard, making the mysterious shadows dance on the ground. In the midst of the silence, Zhang Tu knelt, gasping for breath, his face covered in wounds, dried blood, caked at the corners of his mouth. Before him, Zhang Xiang stood tall and imposing, his expression ice-cold, as if concealing deep, unfathomable schemes. Zhang Xiang spoke in a monotone, betraying no emotion. Lately, the experiments in the manor have encountered setbacks, and quite a few lives have been lost. He glanced at Zhang too, a cryptic smile playing on his lips. The manor is short on ingredients for alchemy, and Ashue is but an orphan child with no one to rely on. You understand what I mean, Zhang too. At the start of the final chapter, he gritted his teeth, clenching his fists. A raspy voice echoed. I understand. Ashue, that brat can't escape. Tomorrow, I will bring him back bound. Zhang Xiang leaned down, his face close to the other man's, his eyes filled with malice. If you do this well, Master Zhao will invite those esteemed lords to help you ascend to immortality. Hearing this, Duo Zheng's eyes flashed with a manic gleam. He trembled with excitement. Truly? I'm about to become immortal. Of course. Zhang Xiang sneered. Overwhelmed with excitement, Duo Zheng ripped open his shirt, revealing a body covered in crisscrossing scars. Amidst the torn flesh, strange red symbols were clearly visible. He looked up to the sky, his eyes bloodshot, laughing maniacally. I'm about to become immortal. Finally, it's happening. The scene shifts to a river. The water is crystal clear, smooth as glass, reflecting the vibrant sunrise. A thin mist drifts lazily over the surface, like a soft silver veil. A small boat glides gently down the jade-green river. On board, a pot of fish porridge steams, releasing an enticing aroma. Du Zhang stirs the porridge, a sinister smile playing on his lips. Ashue, isn't the scenery here breathtaking? Not another boat in sight today. As he speaks, he surreptitiously drops a red poison pill into Ashue's bowl. His tone is insincere, dripping with malice. Let's enjoy this delicious breakfast together, and let bygones be bygones. Ashue frowns, suspicion clouding his eyes. Are you sure there aren't any other boats around? Duzang log artili, nodin enfaticali, absolutely. I made sure to check thoroughly. Inwardly, he gloats, triumphant. He envisions Ashue succumbing to the poison, collapsing, and writhed in agony on the boat. But it seemed no one could hear his cries. A sinister smile slowly spread across Zhang's face. Once you drink this bowl of porridge, Even if you scream until your voice is hoarse, no one will come to save you. Ha ha ha. But just then, Ashué suddenly stood up. His eyes were as cold as sharp blades, piercing straight through Zhang. His low voice carried an immeasurable threat. Good. Zhang jumped, his face paling. Ashué, before he could finish, a powerful stream of water suddenly erupted, engulfing his face. Zhang's eyes widened in panic as he flailed, but he could only feel the water rushing into his nose, into his mouth, suffocating him. His trembling hands clawed desperately, but to no avail. His breath grew weaker. Amidst the surging waves, Ashué stood still, coldly observing. A cold, unwavering gaze, like a predator locking onto its prey. Night fell, blanketing the sky in pitch-black darkness. The faint moonlight reflected on the still water, creating shimmering, ethereal glimmers. Zhang too slowly regained consciousness. His head throbbed, his body numb from being tightly bound. He frantically looked around, searching for an escape. Then he jolted in surprise, seeing Ashué sitting right beside him. A gentle smile played on Ashué's lips, but beneath it lay a chilling, murderous aura. Did you sleep well? Ashué's voice was soft as a whisper, yet it sent shivers down Zhang Tu's spine. He trembled, stammering, What do you want? Ashué casually stretched, a gesture of defiance. His eyes were indifferent, but his tone was strangely sharp. I heard that to lure me to the Zhao Manor, you received quite a hefty reward, didn't you? At least 2 taels of silver, right? Hearing this, Zhang Tu's face paled. Panicked, Ashué pleaded, Please, let me explain. But he didn't seem to care. His gaze fixed coldly on the distance. His voice was slow, laced with a hint of sarcasm. Do you recognize this place? Du Zhang's eyes darted around frantically, a sudden tremor running through his body, his face paling. Isn't this where it happened that night? The sea monster, right? Instantly, the water churned, a massive dark shape, emerging right behind him, under the pale moonlight. The sea monster's razor-sharp teeth flashed a chilling gleam, creating a truly horrifying scene. Du Zhang's eyes widened, his jaw dropped, his body frozen stiff. His voice stuttered. C'est un monster. He smiled slightly, reaching out to stroke the giant crocodile's chin, like playing with a pet. Was a sea monster, yes. But now it's my pet. Didn't you call me a monster? Zhang's head trembled violently. He frantically kowtowed, begging for his life, tears and snot streaming down his face. Monster! You really are a monster. Please spare me. I can tell you everything. He remained calm, his cold eyes sweeping over him. His voice, though soft, was sharp as a razor. Then explained to me, why did Steward Zheng want to bring me to the Zhao residence? They've been recruiting more people lately. What are they really plotting? Zhang didn't dare hide anything anymore. He answered, trembling. Those people are all ingredients for Master Zhao's immortality elixir. He needs living souls to refine the ingredients, to create an elixir of eternal life. No one who enters the residence ever comes out alive. Hearing this, his eyes darkened, a shadow falling over his face. He spoke softly, so, you've captured quite a few innocent people. Lai Tudang frantically pleaded. No, that's not true. I was forced. I had no other choice. But inwardly, he cursed, Damn it. Someday, Master Zhao and his followers will surely turn you into alchemy ingredients and make your life a living hell. He didn't let him finish, a sharp stone appearing in his hand. The stone swiftly sliced across Lai Tatong's throat. Blood gushed out. He looked at him with icy eyes. His voice was as soft as a whisper. But you've seen too much. Lai Tatong's eyes widened, his mouth agape, but he couldn't utter a sound. His body convulsed, then was quickly dragged into the abyss by the crocodile's claws. The icy water felt like 1,000 knives against the skin. He sat motionless in the small boat, his pale blue eyes shimmering mysteriously in the darkness. Lost in thought. Did they bring me to the mansion just to play the zither? He wondered. If I don't act quickly, I'll be the next one to die. A gentle breeze swept across the still water, creating tiny ripples. He took a deep breath, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon. It seems I need to find a strong backer, he thought to himself, to buy myself time to gain strength. Beneath the surface, the strange symbols on the drowned executioner's stomach suddenly emitted an eerie glow, then slowly sank to the bottom of the river, vanishing without a trace. His personal status screen appeared. Gold, 2 tails, giant crocodile, unmovable. Sun Wukong compatibility, 5%. Under the setting sun, the deep blue sky gradually transformed into a soft pink. The last rays of the setting sun painted the still water with gold, creating a strangely serene scene. Suddenly, ripples disturbed the calm surface. A hand abruptly emerged, gripping the edge of the boat. Startled, a white heron perched on the boat took flight, soaring into the sky. Moments latte. Ashui surfasa. His right shoulder burdened by a heavy sack of fresh fish. Perched on his left shoulder was a small green crocodile, curled up in a ball. Casually flicking water from his face, a mischievous grin spread across Ashue's lips. Having powers is incredibly convenient, he thought to himself. 3 days had passed since he dealt with 2 Zhang's men. To avoid attracting attention, he had spent those days trying to live the life of an ordinary fisherman. He'd go fishing at dawn and return in the evening. He sold his catch at the Lotus Lake Market, his usual spot, but 2 Zhang's men no longer dared to show their faces there. A flicker of worry crossed Ashue's eyes. This boat originally belonged to 2 Zhang. I used him as a scapegoat. A smile crept across his face as he recalled his performance in front of the villagers, feigning tears and lamentations. He had roused their anger, leading them to unleash a torrent of abuse upon Steward Zhang. That scoundrel deserved it. However, Ashue knew that the Zhao family wouldn't let this matter rest. Steward Zhang's sudden disappearance would undoubtedly leave clues, and the Zhao family would investigate. There was only one way to protect himself, and that was to become a martial artist. The quickest path to entering the Jianghu, the world of martial arts, was to join a martial arts school. In Pingyang Town, where he lived, there were 3 major martial arts schools, but the most renowned was the Yang-style school. That name was always associated with rumors about its master, possessing legendary and extraordinary abilities, able to split gold and shatter stone with bare hands, but still lacking the power to shake the heavens. If you could join this prestigious martial arts school, the Zhao family wouldn't dare to lay a finger on you, because the disappearance of any member of the school would cause endless trouble and complications. However, to enter the school, you need at least 58 taels of silver. Meanwhile, your current total assets are a mere 2 taels. Clearly, the only option is to earn more money. Lost in his thoughts, planning his next move, a low growl from the small crocodile on his shoulder snapped Ashue back to reality. He stroked his chin, a sudden realization dawning on him. Since his recent breakthrough, his body had gradually adapted to his newfound power. Not only had his physique become stronger, but his mental strength had also significantly increased. He could tame a few more ferocious beasts now. Standing on the small boat, Ashue gazed towards the distant horizon. The water shimmered with silver light. The setting sun cast a golden glow upon him. He narrowed his eyes slightly, a playful smile gracing his lips. Let's keep fishing. Beneath the crystal-clear water, Ashue moved with grace, as if he'd never known such agility. The water seemed to dance around him, embracing his body, becoming an inseparable part of him. Each movement was fluid, elegant, and seamless, as nimble as a playful fish. He glanced at the small green crocodile swimming beside him, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. Let's continue our race, Yin. This was Ashue's regular training ground, along with the underwater creatures he had tamed. He honed his speed and body control with practiced ease, and enhanced his control over the water's flow, mastering and navigating the power of the currents. With that thought, he stomped his foot on the riverbed, creating a swirling vortex of water around himself. This skill allowed him to glide through the strong currents below and accelerate in the blink of an eye. However, this technique consumed a tremendous amount of stamina and couldn't be maintained for long. Just as he was hurtling forward at breakneck speed, a blurry figure flashed past behind him. What was that? Ashue startled, quickly turning his head. Before him appeared a magnificent pink creature, swimming gracefully underwater like a soft ribbon of silk. Its sharp fins reflected the light, creating a shimmering, magical halo around. His eyes widened in astonishment. An abalone, a real abalone. This world truly held extraordinary, evolved creatures possessing extraordinary power. And the Baoyu is one of these special creatures. This fish is considered a priceless treasure of the swamp, so incredibly rare that Some would trade their entire fortune just to possess one. But before Ashue could fully recover from his astonishment, another breathtaking beauty suddenly appeared in the distance. 2. Impossible. This species is incredibly rare, Ashue exclaimed. Yet there are 2 of them here today. While he was still stunned, the 2 Baoyu suddenly accelerated, darting like silver arrows through the water. Without hesitation, Ashue turned to the small crocodile, shouting, "Don't let them escape. You go after that one. I'll take care of this one." Immediately, the small crocodile transformed its massive body, exuding a terrifyingly ferocious aura. It thrashed its tail powerfully, shooting off like lightning, in pursuit of the Baoyu ahead. Ashue didn't hesitate either. Once again, he manipulated the current, propelling himself towards the remaining fish. Damn it, I should have brought a net, Ashue thought to himself. He gritted his teeth and raised his left hand, focusing on his water manipulation skill. A sphere of water instantly formed, quickly encasing the abalone that was struggling wildly ahead. Seizing the opportunity, Ashue lunged forward, firmly grasping the precious abalone in his hands. Got it. A triumphant grin spread across his face. Beneath the murky water, Ashue carefully placed the abalone into his fish bag, calculating in his head, today's haul is pretty good. If I can sell all these fish, I'll make a decent amount, enough to prepare for my next plan. But as Ashue was lost in thought, a grotesque tentacle suddenly wrapped around his waist. What the? Before Ashue could react, a terrifying force. He tossed him into the river like a piece of worthless trash. The brutal impact stunned him, blood welling up in his mouth. Before his eyes, a massive creature gradually emerged from the darkness. A six-whiskered catfish, monstrous and terrifying in size. Its eyes were as cold as a demon's gaze, its slick skin radiating a formidable menace. Its razor-sharp teeth parted slightly, ready to crush anything in their path. Small whirlpools began to form around the monster. Ashue gritted his teeth, fear gripping him. This is bad. This was the infamous water monster of the Yixing River, the beast rumored to devour humans. He never thought he'd be unlucky enough to encounter it. His eyes darted around, desperately searching for an escape. He noticed in front of the monstrous catfish's mouth, an incredibly powerful vortex of water was forming. It was preparing to attack. Ashue instantly raised his hand, activating his ability to control water. In a split second, with the situation hanging by a thread, he shattered the enormous water sphere. The water monster froze in astonishment. Astonishment was etched on his face, disbelief evident in his eyes. So dangerous. So close. Fortunately, his reflexes were lightning fast. But before Ashue could catch his breath, before he could regain his composure, the monstrous catfish lashed out with its tail, delivering a devastating blow. The powerful strike sent Ashue flying. Damn it, this monster is cunning, Ashue cursed under his breath. It seemed to be mocking him, ridiculing his human weakness. Its murky eyes gleamed with a scornful, contemptuous light. Suddenly, the monster charged again with terrifying speed, quick as lightning. Just when Ashue thought he'd have to fight for his life, gamble with death, a colossal shadow emerged from behind, lunging forward with overwhelming force. "Well done, Bu Kedong," a voice boomed. Ashue's crocodile appeared, majestic as a savior. It swung its powerful tail, slamming it down on the monster's head. The horrific impact sent the catfish flying, tumbling through the water. Ashue braced himself against a nearby rock, struggling to keep his balance. He felt a searing pain in his palms, burning like fire from the sharp edges of the rock. Fresh blood flowed, staining the surrounding water crimson. He gritted his teeth, enduring the pain. Ashue's gaze was resolute. If he couldn't subdue this monster, he would pay with his life. There was no other way out. Ashue mustered all his strength and raised his hand, activating the Blood Palace Imperial Control. Instantly, a brilliant crimson aura erupted, engulfing Ashue's entire body. The surrounding water seemed to resonate with his every breath, vibrating intensely. Inside Ashue's head, the system's warning alarms blared repeatedly. Warning. Mental strength too low. This action may lead to overload. Warning, controlling multiple aquatic beasts simultaneously will cause energy dispersal. Warning, mental strength approaching critical levels. Ashue felt his head spin, a dizzying sensation overwhelming him. But he wouldn't allow himself to collapse. With the last of his strength, Asura let out a mighty roar. A flash of blue light flickered in the sea monster's eyes, then slowly faded into a hazy, vacant stare. It stopped struggling. Finally, it had been subdued. Under the crimson sunset, the small boat drifted gently along the mirror-smooth river. Asura gasped for breath, hauling himself onto the deck. Icy water dripped from him onto the damp wooden planks. He leaned against the side of the boat, gazing up at the vast sky. The feeling of terror still lingered within him. He hadn't expected the demonic catfish's mental strength to be so formidable. He'd almost been overwhelmed by its backlash. He looked down into the clear water, where the two subdued sea creatures were still swimming silently. A satisfied smile flickered across his lips. This wasn't a bad haul after all. Suddenly, the system's voice echoed in his mind. You have conquered the six-whiskered catfish. It can evolve by consuming 800 swamp essence points. Upon evolving, the six-whiskered catfish will transform into the lakehead catfish. Asura stared intently at the giant catfish, pondered for a moment, then laughed out loud. You're so chubby, I'll call you Afe. Beneath the clear blue water, the giant catfish swished its massive tail, seemingly displeased with the nickname it had just been given. Ignoring the catfish's reaction, Asura upended his fish bag and began to take stock of his catch. Kasao remained motionless, its jaws wide open, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Carefully picking up a small fish and gently offering it to its master, Asura carefully examined the small fish with its sharp fins, his eyes suddenly lighting up with excitement. This is a baby arowana. He patted Kasao on the head, praising it profusely. Good boy, you really are a great help to me. The little Kasao wagged its tail happily, its eyes sparkling like stars, as if anticipating a well-deserved reward. Without hesitation, Asura quickly started a fire on the boat and began preparing his freshly caught bounty. He meticulously cleaned the fish and placed it on the glowing embers, and soon, the enticing aroma of grilled fish filled the air, making everyone's stomach rumble. Asura picked up a small piece of fish. He cautiously brought it to his mouth and tasted it, trying to sense if it would provide any strength boost. The fish was tender, melting in his mouth, its delicate sweetness spreading across his palate. In moments, only a clean skeleton remained. Asura picked up a small bone, a slight smile playing on his lips. Keeping this bone as a souvenir might be fun, he thought to himself. Suddenly, a system notification rang out. Water essence plus 18 points. Asura's eyes lit up. 18 essence points were equivalent to 18 precious essence fragments. Jackpot! He quickly calculated in his head. If a small fish held such value, then a large fish must be worth at least 3 times as much, perhaps even as high as 54 water essence points. Asura checked his current fusion rate, 7.5%. With the essence from both the small and large fish combined, he could easily surpass the 10% threshold. However, Asura tried to suppress his greed. No need to rush. Let's stay calm and be patient. Right now, the top priority is earning enough money to cover tuition. But perhaps this is enough for now. Asura sat leisurely on the boat, a confident smile playing on his lips. The scene changed, revealing the bustling Chinjiixing market. The market was teeming with buyers and sellers, a dense crowd jostling for space. They pushed and shoved their way through the tightly packed stalls. The cries of vendors mixed with the lively chatter of the crowd, creating a vibrant and chaotic atmosphere. Asura weaved his way through the throng, his eyes falling upon a group of people gathered in animated conversation. They chatted excitedly, their faces full of enthusiasm. He frowned slightly, a strange curiosity piqued. The Wei Festival just passed last month. Could there be another festival today? Amidst the noisy crowd, Chun Jieshuang stood tall, loudly hawking a large fish with a cheerful expression. Everyone look, this is an abalone. One that weighs over 3 pounds, a once-in-a-century find. The words were barely out when the crowd erupted in chatter. Gasps of astonishment mixed with endless praise. Abalone? That Chin family kid is truly something special. Asura was stunned. Oh, he caught an abalone too. He hurriedly pushed his way through the crowd. Someone recognized him and sneered. Well, isn't that Asura? In such a hurry to meet your maker? Asura pretended not to hear, making his way to Chun Jieshuang's side, and slowly placed his fish basket on the ground. He cleared his throat and chuckled softly. Shang Ben, what a fortunate day. The river god has truly blessed us. 2 abalones in a single day. As soon as he finished speaking, a burly man with crossed arms scoffed. "What nonsense are you spouting? The chimboy only caught one. Where's the second one?" Ashue didn't answer, but silently reached into his fish basket, calmly pulled out a large fish, and boldly declared, "The second one isn't his. It's mine." He held the fish high, his eyes sweeping confidently across the stunned crowd. The crowd fell silent for a moment, but then bursts of mocking laughter erupted. "Huh, you're saying that ugly fish is an abalone? You probably just picked it up somewhere and are trying to sell it for a high price." Laughter roared through the market. Kai Shiwang sneered, contempt evident in his eyes. Suddenly, a voice boomed from the back of the crowd. Well, isn't that a Hong Shui Lu?" The entire market went deathly silent. An imposing group entered the riverside market, where the fishermen were busily buying and selling. Leading the group was Hu Chi, one of the most renowned martial artists from the Yang family's martial arts school. His appearance immediately drew the attention of the surrounding crowd. A man whispered, his voice filled with admiration, "Is it that the esteemed martial artist from the Yang family school? He truly has an extraordinary presence." Hu Chi approached Chun Jieshuang's stall, glanced at the fresh fish, and asked in a calm tone, "How much for this fish?" Chun Jieshuang, being a shrewd and quick-witted individual, promptly replied, "Sir, what price do you think would be fair?" Hu Chi simply glanced at the fish, showing no sign of urgency, and continued, "How much does it weigh?" Chun Jieshuang didn't keep Hu Chi waiting, immediately answering, 1 catty and 7 liang and 6 chien. Hu Chi nodded without hesitation and offered, 3 liang, will you sell? Chun Jieshuang's eyes lit up, unable to hide his delight, and hurriedly replied, "Sold, sold." At that moment, Ashue seized the opportunity, raising the fish in his hands. "Your Excellency, please have a look at my fish," Ashue called out. His words caused a stir amongst the crowd. Some even began to mock him. He dares to try and sell that kind of fish here? He truly doesn't know his place. That boy is shameless, trying to pull a fast one right in front of Master Wu. If he angers him, we'll all be in trouble. A wave of disdainful glances fell upon Ashue, but Hu Chi didn't show any anger. On the contrary, he seemed intrigued, carefully observing the fish. After a moment, he nodded and said, "Oh, this is a Niu Jiao Xiang." Ashue couldn't help but be surprised. So, this is a Niu Jiao Xiang, he thought to himself, but outwardly, he maintained his composure and replied, "Yes, Your Excellency. This fish weighs 1 catty and 5 tails." Hu Chi pondered for a moment and then offered a price, 6 taels and 5 copper coins. As soon as he spoke, the entire market erupted. 6 taels and 5 copper coins. Good heavens! My entire family lineage has never seen such a massive amount of money. Cheon Jiol Song stood frozen, as if unable to believe his ears. Someone in the crowd scoffed, their tone dripping with sarcasm. "Be very careful now. Money doesn't guarantee you a life to spend it. Having money doesn't mean you'll live to spend it." Ashue ignored the surrounding chatter, responding with a mischievous grin. He cheerfully accepted the silver, thinking to himself, "I've hit the jackpot this time." Seeing this, Cheon Jiol Song's face darkened, disappointment evident in his expression. He didn't bother anymore, silently picking up his basket of fish and leaving. Ashue watched his retreating figure, then turned to ask Master Hu Chi, "Why was my fish worth twice as much as the Hong Shui Lu?" Hu Chi slowly explained, "The hard scales of the Yu Jiao Xiang can be used as medicinal ingredients to make Mi Huan pills, extracting and refining blood essence, breaking through the blood barrier. I'm currently facing difficulties with this myself, so it would be quite useful to me." Ashue nodded, lost in thought, because this fish's scales are still intact, completely undamaged. He clutched the bag of silver in his hand, thinking that with this silver, joining a martial arts school seemed possible now. As dusk settled, Ashue sat on the doorstep, slowly counting the silver coins in his hand. 6, 7, 8 taels. Suddenly, a hand clapped him hard on the shoulder. "Aha, well done, young man. You've truly brought honor to our little town." The newcomer was Li Ba, a smooth talker, but with a genuinely enthusiastic spirit. Ashue turned, raising an eyebrow. "It's you? I didn't get a chance to thank you properly that day." Li Ba flashed a smug grin, trying to maintain a serious expression. "Well, then it's simple. Give me 6 taels of silver as a token of gratitude." Ashue laughed, shaking his head. "In your dreams." Then, he suddenly remembered something and asked, "Oh, right. I wanted to ask you something. Do you know how much the tuition fee is for the Yang martial arts school. Li Ba whistled softly at the question, patting Ashue's shoulder with a confident look. You've asked the right person. My father is planning to send me there, so I know it very well. Li Ba launched into a lengthy explanation, talking nonstop. Old Yang's martial arts school charges 7 taels of silver for tuition, which only covers the classes, not room and board. If you want room and board included, it's 10 taels. And if you want room and board plus special medicinal supplements, it'll cost you 20 taels of silver. Of course, you have to cover your own food expenses, although the tuition is a bit steep. Considering the reputation and quality of training, definitely worth the money. Ba Gao smiled faintly. He bent down and started calculating. He had 7 taels of silver. If he added his previous savings, plus 6 taels and 50 copper coins, and then added the 130 copper coins from selling fish today, he would have 9 taels and 2 copper coins. Enough. He stood up abruptly, clapping Li Lao-san on the shoulder confidently. Let's go register tomorrow. Li Lao-san was surprised, then burst out laughing. So you're a hidden tycoon. All right, then it's no problem. They both chatted and laughed. But just then, a strange voice echoed in Ashue's ear. Abalone. He immediately turned to look. But all around was the gradually descending night. A figure flashed by. Scene change. A large sign appeared under the flickering lantern light. It was clearly engraved with 2 words, Zhao Mansion. Inside, the warehouse steward, with a respectful expression, reported to the master. The bandit leader, Zhang, remains missing, but the trail leads to someone named Ashue. Zheng Xiang raised an eyebrow, his face showing clear displeasure, and said, Such trivial matters needn't bother me daily. Deal with it yourselves. Make it disappear. As night fell, blanketing everything in darkness, a small boat drifted silently along the tranquil river. The water reflected the silvery, mystical moonlight. Ripples gently lulled the river to sleep as creatures stirred beneath the surface. Ashue sat peacefully in the boat, carefully slicing bamboo shoots and dropping them into a pot of boiling water. The fragrant aroma of fish soup filled the still night air. He gently lifted the lid of the pot, his eyes lighting up at the sight of the shimmering golden fish stew, its rich, savory aroma steaming enticingly before him. Ladling a full bowl, he took a big gulp and exclaimed excitedly, Delicious! The delicate sweetness of the fish blends perfectly with the fresh, crisp flavor of the bamboo shoots. A satisfied smile spreading across his face. Ashue tossed some food into the water for his 2 little water beasts, chuckling as he said, All right. Your turn to eat. Just then, the system announced, water essence gained, 24. Ashue clenched his fist, his eyes sparkling with joy. As expected of Abalone, such abundant water essence. He could feel his strength noticeably increasing. He looked towards Afe, his water beast, with excitement. What a lucky find. Afe found another rare Abalone. Perfect. It's time for a breakthrough. Last time, the fishbone blade gained 18 points. This time it's 24. Without hesitation, Ashue immediately activated the system and selected the refine button. A surge of energy coursed through his body. Powerful energy circulated through every fiber of his being, making Ashue's muscles tense like steel. The system updated with a new skill. Ashue swung his arm, launching a powerful punch into the air, feeling the strength far surpassing what he had before. If only there were an opponent to practice on right now. He used his ability to control the water flow, lifting Afe into the air. The feeling of controlling the water's current became more refined and precise than ever before. Unexpectedly, just by letting it absorb some fragments from the broth, the amount of essence needed for evolution has significantly decreased. Water-controlling beast, Taihua alligator, consuming 779 points of water marsh essence, can evolve into Jiaomu. The eel-scale beast commands 6 Nian fish, consuming 779 points of water essence, can evolve into a tiger-head Nian fish. Ashue furrowed his brow, lost in thought about the evolution options. Suddenly, he pulled out a strange object, an ancient bronze censer intricately engraved with elaborate patterns. He examined it closely. One side of the artifact bore the image of Yinglong, while the other depicted a colossal ape. Above, images of deities were etched. A deity with a human head and a snake body. A great emperor cloaked in a mysterious black robe. Ashue muttered, Who in the world created this? Or is it a relic from ancient times? But he quickly shook his head. Never mind. It's pointless to dwell on it now. Tomorrow I'll go to the martial arts school. I must quickly become strong to deal with the Zhao family. Determination flashed in his eyes. Gentle morning sunlight stretched across the quiet dirt road. A heavily laden truck rumbled out of the small town. Its 6 wheels lumbered towards distant Bin Duong. Li Ba, sitting in the back, excitedly threw his hand in the air, yelling, "Let's go." The young man kept his eyes fixed on the road ahead, then turned to the driver, peppering him with impatient questions. "How much further until we get there?" Ashuai didn't answer, just silently pointed towards the horizon. Look! In the distance, Bin Duong slowly materialized, its buildings huddled together. A bustling, noisy atmosphere filled the air, teeming with people. When the truck stopped, Li Ba happily waved goodbye to the driver and stepped down from the truck with Ashuai. Both were ready to fill their rumbling stomachs. They stopped at a small roadside eatery, ordering a few steaming hot buns. The enticing aroma of the meat filling filled the air, making their meal all the more satisfying. With their bellies full, they continued their stroll through the bustling streets, happily taking in the sights with delighted expressions. First, they stopped at a clay figurine stall, mesmerized by the skillful hands deftly shaping the clay into charming, lifelike miniatures. Next, they wandered into a martial arts performance area, where martial artists were showcasing impressive feats of strength, breaking stones on their chests, leaving the onlookers in awe. But amidst the vibrant, lively atmosphere, in a secluded, quiet corner, a group of men were huddled together, plotting something shady. A man with a fierce countenance, his brow furrowed, asked, "Are you certain that Brat will come this way?" The man opposite him crossed his arms, a sly grin spreading across his face. "Absolutely. I heard him tell young Master Li that he would go to the Yang family's martial arts school to register today. Moreover, yesterday he sold fish and earned 6 taels and 5 coins. Do you know how much money that is? You could sell your wife and still not make that much." The thug's face was hard, a greedy smirk twisting his lips as a cunning glint flickered in his eyes. Handing over such a hefty sum to the martial arts school. What a waste. We're just helping him manage his finances, that's all. He chuckled, his voice sly and full of scheming. Besides, this road is the only path to the school, and it's so deserted. It's the perfect opportunity. With that, he signaled to his companions to prepare for the ambush. Just then, Ashuai and Subduing arrived at the quiet stretch of road. Subduing turned to Ashuai excitedly and asked, "After I learn martial arts, how many people do you think I could defeat?" Ashuai shrugged slightly, feigning ignorance. But in his mind, he was thinking something else entirely. "As for me, I'm not sure how many I could take down right now. A real-world test would be nice." Just then, a gruff voice cut through his thoughts. "Stop!" A burly man emerged from the shadows, a club clutched in his hand, his face a mask of menacing rage. He growled, "This road is mine. These bricks were laid by me. If you want to pass, you have to pay a toll." Tong Hengyo, another one standing nearby, crossed his arms, his eyes gleaming slyly at Ashuai before he sneered. Well, if it isn't you again, kid. Hand over all your money." He smirked, his voice menacing. "You have 2 choices. Either you hand over the money willingly, or we take care of you, and take it ourselves." The surrounding thugs erupted in boisterous laughter. But just then, Ashuai smiled, his expression calm. He slowly replied, "Oh, so I have a choice for you 2. I choose for you to stay lying by the roadside." Before the thugs could understand what was happening, Ashuai charged forward, his face filled with murderous intent. "What do you think you're doing, punk?" one of them yelled, throwing a punch straight at Ashuai. But before it could connect, he received a devastating blow right in the face. His entire body flew backward, crashing heavily to the ground. The second thug, witnessing the scene, roared, "You little punk, let me teach you a lesson." He lunged fiercely at Ashuai from behind. But Ashuai was lightning fast, spinning around with incredible speed. A powerful elbow strike landed squarely on the thug's face. He followed up with a devastating punch to the head. Not stopping there, Ashuai quickly grabbed the thug by the collar and hurled him towards his accomplice standing nearby. Both thugs crashed to the ground, writhing in pain, giving them no chance to retaliate. Ashuai rushed forward, delivering a thunderous punch. The remaining thug's head slammed against the ground, knocking him unconscious. Li Ba stood beside them, his eyes wide with astonishment. His jaw dropped, speechless. So fast. He took them both down in just 9 moves. Li Ba exclaimed. Ashuai looked down at his fists, feeling the power surging through his body. His physical abilities had truly been elevated to a new level. Li Ba, still in shock, looked at Ashué with a deeply suspicious expression. What did you get so strong? Do you even need a master anymore? Ashué chuckled, shrugging. What if I'm just a natural talent? With that, he clapped Li Ba on the shoulder. Come on, let's not be late for registration. Li Ba still had some doubts, but didn't ask any more questions. He just let out a small grunt and quickly followed Ashué. After asking around, the two finally reached the gates of the Yang Martial Arts School. The gates were tall, imposing, and magnificent. From within, spirited shouts of training could be heard. As they stepped inside, a calm and refined young man approached to greet them. Are you two the new students here to register? He smiled, his voice gentle. I am Xiang Changsong. You may call me Senior Brother Xiang. Ashué and Li Ba cupped their hands in greeting, replying in unison, Greetings, Senior Brother Xiang. Xiang Changsong nodded, a pleased expression on his face. He then gestured for the 12 to follow him. I will take you to meet another instructor, who will assess your aptitude and explain the way of martial arts in detail. With that, he led the way, Ashué and the 11 others, following without hesitation, ready to embark on the arduous path of martial arts. Upon arrival, Chang Song pointed to a middle-aged man, introducing, This is Senior Brother Hu. He will be the one to guide you. Senior Brother Hu is a direct disciple of Senior Brother Yang. Ashué carefully observed the man before him and suddenly spoke. Are you the master who bought the fish that day? Hu Chi turned around, a look of surprise in his eyes, then laughed. So it's you. Chang Song asked curiously, What a coincidence. Senior Brother Hu, you know these two junior brothers? Hu Chi nodded, explaining. The ox horn I used to break through my realm was bought from this young brother's stall. Hearing this, Headmaster Xiang smiled and gave a slight nod of agreement. Excellent. That's wonderful. You two will follow Senior Brother Hu to learn martial arts. Tonight, you can stay at the martial arts school. Ashué and Li Ba bowed in unison, respectfully saying, Thank you, Senior Brother. Hu Te nodded, gesturing for them to follow him. First, I will assess your aptitude. Ashué asked, puzzled, What is aptitude? Hu Te chuckled, patting his shoulder reassuringly. Don't worry, it's just a test to see which martial art style is best suited to your physique. Li Ba seized the opportunity to ask. We don't know anything about martial arts. Could you explain it to us, Senior Brother? Hu Te stroked his chin, pondering for a moment before nodding. Very well. The foundation of martial arts is divided into 4 realms: skin, flesh, bone, and blood. Seeing their confusion, Hu Te explained in detail. The skin realm strengthens muscles and skin, making them tough and resilient, making the body resistant to injury. It enhances defense. As for the flesh realm, by overcoming this trial, your internal strength will be significantly enhanced, making heavy lifting feel as light as a feather. The core of this trial is to help the body unlock its vast potential strength, allowing you to shatter stone with a punch and tear steel with bare hands. The blood trial is the highest level, helping to cultivate comprehensive martial arts strength, reaching an extraordinary realm, far surpassing ordinary people. Hu Chi's playful smile faded, replaced by a serious expression. In essence, the true meaning of martial arts lies in relentless training. However, even with arduous practice, ordinary people will inevitably encounter their own limits. To break through these limits, 2 key elements are essential: technique and medicine. Hearing this, Ashué and Li Ba both showed expressions of doubt. Technique and medicine? Hu Chi patiently explained. Technique refers to the method of cultivation. For example, our Yang-style martial arts school has the 3-fist technique. With a martial arts technique, a martial artist has a path to progress, constantly elevating their realm. As for medicine, he paused for a moment before continuing. Technique is like a staircase leading to the pinnacle of martial arts. But this staircase is incredibly precarious and dangerous. You need a handrail, which is medicine, to climb faster and more steadily. The medicinal ingredients are those things. For example, these trash fish bones. What you sell are the medicinal ingredients we need. Ashué nodded slightly, thinking to himself, That's great, if that's the case with my status. Won't it be easy to collect these things? Chi Huzeo looked at the two of them, slowly instructing, My 2 junior brothers, don't be too hasty. The path of martial arts is long. First focus on each step you take. Ashué and Li Ba bowed their heads together. Thank you, Senior Brother. Then, Senior Brother, please examine our aptitude. In a hidden corner not far away, A group of people were secretly observing Asura and Li Ba. The leader was Lu Tinkai. He narrowed his eyes, his voice sinister. Third young master Zhao. Is this the person you were talking about? The person behind him nodded in confirmation. That's right. You just need to get these two out of the martial arts school. The person who just spoke was Zhao Shuyuan. He stared intently at Asura, his eyes dark and menacing, a chilling glint of murderous intent flashing within them. I can make the decision for you regarding what you've spoken of. In the study of the Zhao residence, an old steward stood respectfully before his master, his voice dripping with cunning and deceit. Master, that Asura is only 15 years old, truly an excellent ingredient for alchemical refinement. Furthermore, he is the same age as the third young master, and also an orphan. If Asura can be refined into an elixir, the young master's health. Master Zhao gazed intently at Ashua's portrait, a look of contemplation in his eyes. Yuaner has been frail since childhood. Finding a child of the same age has been truly difficult. This Asura is indeed a precious ingredient. Outside the study, a figure lurked silently in the shadows, listening intently to every word spoken within. The old steward stood respectfully before his master and softly inquired, Master, as I understand it, that boy is about to join the Yang family's martial arts school. Given young Dong Haiyang's stubborn and defiant nature, I fear it will be difficult for us to find an opportunity to strike. Master Zhao pondered for a moment, a thoughtful look in his eyes, then slowly nodded in agreement. This matter requires careful planning. We must not act rashly. The old steward bowed in acknowledgement and quietly withdrew. As he left, he accidentally dropped a portrait of Asal. In the stillness of the night, a shadowy figure, hidden until now in the darkness, stepped forward and picked up the portrait. He gazed at the drawing, his eyes deep with intent, then spoke in a raspy voice. I must obtain the immortality elixir and escape this endless cycle of mortal existence. Anyone who dares to stand in my way. He finished, clenching his fist and crushing the portrait in his hand. At the Yang family's martial arts school, Li Ba's eyes widened in astonishment as he heard the results of the aptitude test, leaving him speechless with astonishment. I can't believe this kid possesses the highest grade constitution, while I only reached high-medium grade. Frustrated, he stomped his foot hard on the ground. Awei simply waved his hand dismissively, replying indifferently, It's just natural talent. Seeing Awei turn and walk away, Li Ba hurriedly chased after him, calling out, Wait for me, Awei. Awei looked back, smiling gently. Hurry up, let's go to the training grounds. The session's about to start. Li Ba was startled, exclaiming, Huh? On the way to the training grounds, the two happened to run into Chun Jieshuang. Li Ba frowned slightly, asking directly, What are you doing here? Chun Jieshuang crossed his arms, replying casually, If you could be here, why can't I? The two immediately began bickering. You little punk, want to fight? Awei chuckled, stepping in to mediate and pulling them apart. We're from the same hometown. Forget it, let it go. Then, he turned and politely greeted, Hello, Brother Jie. Chun Jieshuang only grunted in response, saying nothing more. Ashuai thought to himself, Chun Jieshuang is also from Yixing City, 2 years older than me. He's a famous fisherman, and had a pretty good relationship with my former boss. Thinking that, he asked, Brother Jie, are you here to train too? Chun Jieshuang nodded, replying in a deep voice, Who doesn't want to be strong these days? So, I sold all my fish to save enough money to come here. Ashuai chuckled. Then let's go to the training grounds together. Senior brother, who has already started teaching. Suddenly, Ashuai's eyes widened, and he added urgently, Right. If we don't go now, we'll miss it. At the training grounds, the atmosphere was intense. The three of them merged into the crowd. The first training session officially began. Soon, Li Ba was panting heavily, his face contorted in exhaustion. Sweat poured off him like rain. It wasn't just Li Ba. Ashuai and Chun Jieshuang were also completely drained. Their entire bodies trembled with fatigue. Seeing this, Hushi raised his hand to signal a stop, his voice deep. Everyone can rest for a while now. This afternoon, a master will be in charge of guiding you further. Hearing this, Ashuai, Li Ba, and Chun Jieshuang immediately collapsed onto the ground. Gasping for air, Li Ba groaned. I'm so tired. I'm starting to think about giving up. Chun Jieshuang's lips curled into a slight sneer, his face icy. Trash! A contemptuous voice cut through the air of the training grounds. A mocking voice suddenly rang out, shattering the silence. The tense, weary atmosphere instantly dissipated. I was wondering where the stench of fish was coming from. Turns out it's from you lot. The speaker was Lu Yintian. His eyes were filled with contempt, his tone glacial. The smell is so putrid it makes me want to vomit. Best you disappear from my sight. Behind him, Shwedingi laughed derisively, joining in the taunts. Yeah, you three. Were you born from a fish's belly, or something? Lu Yintian crossed his arms, acting all high and mighty. Each of you give us 2 taels of silver, and we'll generously let you off the hook. Immediately, the other 3 were so enraged they almost lunged forward. But Qin Jieshuang quickly stopped them. Calm down. Don't cause trouble with senior brother who... Ashuai quietly observed the situation. Ashuai knew that with his current abilities, he was no match for these 3. Luo Yintian smirked, stretching his limbs, preparing to attack. What? Want to fight? Come on, he taunted. I'm about to break through to the skin-tempering realm. Want to be my test subject? Ashuai narrowed his eyes, thinking to himself, skin-tempering. Huh? If we were in the middle of the river, he thought, I could use the terrain to my advantage. But this is the martial arts school. Li Ba gritted his teeth in anger, shouting, damn it, just as the atmosphere became incredibly tense. A commanding voice boomed, Luo Yintian, what are you doing here? Hu Ji coldly pointed towards the training grounds. If you have nothing better to do, go do horse dance for half an hour. Hu Ji appeared, his sharp gaze sweeping over the 3 troublemakers. Luo Yintian immediately dropped his arrogant demeanor, but was still unwilling to back down. He gritted his teeth and warned. Consider yourself lucky today, kid. But remember, this place isn't for the faint of heart or the weak. Luo Yinkai was furious, but didn't dare to retaliate. He begrudgingly led his men away. Li Ba stood behind, raising his hand in a mocking gesture, muttering under his breath, damn it, what a bunch of bastards. Qin Jieshuang remained calm, crossing his arms and saying, all right, what good does cursing do here? Ashuai pondered. It all comes down to strength. We need to use this time to become stronger. With that thought, he turned to his 2 friends, Li Ba and Jiese. We need to go home. We have to go back home for a bit. He then took off running. I need to take the afternoon off. Li Ba exclaimed in surprise. Ashuai, where are you going? Qin Jieshuang furrowed his brow, shrugging. Who knows? The green fields have enemies. There's something in there that can help us become stronger. This can't be happening. Night fell, blanketing everything in darkness. Li Ba and Qin Jieshuang were on their way back from training. Li Ba looked up at the starlit sky and sighed deeply. It had been a whole day, and there was still no sign of Ashuai's return. Qin Jieshuang replied nonchalantly, the emperor isn't even worried. Why should a eunuch like you be so anxious? Li Ba flew into a rage and shouted, how dare you provoke me? You brat need to be taught a lesson. Suddenly, a burst of laughter echoed from the shadows. Haha, it seems the heavens are on my side today, allowing me to stumble upon you too. Li Ba and Qin Jieshuang immediately became alert and spun around. A figure slowly emerged from the darkness. It was none other than Luo Yintian. He wore a sinister smile. Senior brother, who isn't here today, so who will protect you now? Li Ba gritted his teeth and roared furiously. Luo Yintian, you dare. Luo Yintian spoke coldly. It seems today is the day I send you 2 to meet your maker. Night had fallen. The moon hung high, casting a dim, eerie light upon the lake. An unnerving silence settled. Then ripples suddenly disturbed the still surface of the water. From the depths of the inky blackness, a gigantic creature emerged. It was a monstrously large crab, its hard shell shimmering in the moonlight. 2 massive claws, ready to crush anything that dared to stand in its way. Ashuai stood on Ah Fei's back, spear gripped tightly in his hand, his eyes sharp and alert. He told himself, I can't act rashly now. Ah Fei was nearing the Baiguan realm, yet still remained cautious. Proving the creature before them was no ordinary beast. What kind of monster could make even my 2 beasts so fearful that they had to send a warning? Hidden behind the dense bushes, he whispered, it's here. Beneath the tranquil surface of the lake, countless deep craters appeared, leaving scars, as evidence of fierce battles that had taken place before. Aoi narrowed his eyes, trying to observe. The creature capable of creating such marks must be incredibly large and ferocious. Behind him, Apai and Byukdong shrunk their bodies, returning to their battle-ready state. Before Aoi's eyes, a strange object gradually materialized. He recalled the last time, after eating the abalone, his body fusion rate had increased by 11.7%. The amount of water he could control had reached 70 kilograms. More importantly, his underwater sensory range had expanded by another meter, bringing his total sensing range to 6 meters. But even so, the thing before him made Aoi shudder in fear. What kind of monster is this? He wondered. Two enormous pincers slowly emerged from the water, reflecting the cold moonlight. Aoi couldn't help but exclaim, "A crab! Good heavens! How can it be so massive?" A sense of foreboding washed over him. A creature of such colossal size, could it have already gained sentience? According to Master Hu's teachings, any creature surpassing the Baiguan level is known as a Jingguai, a demon beast. With its astonishingly large body, it must have already reached that realm. Regardless, I can't act rashly. Fei was able to escape from it, proving it's not invincible. However, another thought suddenly flashed through his mind. But what about me? Do I have enough strength? Can I really do this? He gripped the spear tightly in his hand, his mind in turmoil. All his arduous training was meant to make him stronger, but this situation was completely beyond his expectations. Just then, old memories came flooding back. Bitter memories of the past flooded back. This monster is just like your good-for-nothing father. Ryu Diakjae's triumphant voice echoed in his mind. This place isn't for cowards like you. Asu clenched his fists. Danger and the unexpected are constant companions in life, events that can twist fate. Arrive soudainly. Great things always demand a certain recklessness. Only mediocre men plan everything out. I won't let go of what I've already grasped in my hands. I'm not in the habit of handing things over to others. Zhang Duqi wants me dead, so he has to die. If you want to steal my lotus field, let's see who's stronger. Just as his fighting spirit surged, Apai suddenly froze, then rapidly transformed, becoming a colossal creature. At the same time, all three lunged forward, aiming directly for the demon before them. Meanwhile, at another location, Jiexiang stumbled, his body battered and bruised. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth after a devastating blow. He collapsed to the ground, his face contorted in agony. Standing over him was Lu Dinkai, who sneered, his eyes filled with contempt. "Quite resilient, aren't you?" he mocked. "But what about your companion? Where is he?" Jiexiang remained silent, taking advantage of Lu Dingsai's momentary lapse in attention. He suddenly grabbed a nearby brick, and with all his might, slammed it into his opponent's head. Whack! The blow was so forceful that blood splattered across Lu Dingsai's forehead. But instead of collapsing, he was only slightly dazed. He touched the wound and laughed. "Excellent. Let me send you to meet your ancestors." Then, he lifted his foot and brutally stomped on Gaixu's face, grinding it into the dirt. "You pathetic worms." Ryu Diakjae turned, ordering his three nearby subordinates. "Guard the door. I want to savor tormenting these two rats." The three men responded in unison. "Yes, sir." Siapiam writhed on the ground, his teeth gritted in agony. Rage surged within him, and with a roar, Siapiam lunged forward with a clenched fist. But before he could land a blow, Ryu Diakjae effortlessly caught his wrist. Pain shot up Siapiam's arm as Ryu Diakjae twisted it back. Siapiam clenched his jaw, his face contorted in pain. "You talk too much. Say something else. I dare you." Ryu Diakjae let out a cruel laugh. He then grabbed Gaixu by the hair, pulling him up. "And you've got a sharp look in your eyes too. But I'm going to gouge them out and give them to my hound for practice." Li Ba screamed in despair from beside him. "You crazy bastard, stop it." But it was all useless. Lu Dingsai's cold fingers touched Li Ba's eye sockets. A sickening crack echoed. Pain shot through his very core, leaving him gritting his teeth in agony. Crimson blood flowed down Li Ba's face, staining the still water a deep crimson. Suddenly, a desperate shout rang out. "Stop!" Ashue stood firm amidst the water, his breath ragged, his eyes filled with determination. Before him, the giant crab monster brandished its massive claws, gripping a heavy boulder and crushing it into countless fragments. Shards of rock erupted like deadly projectiles, forcing Ashue to constantly dodge. He gritted his teeth, cursing under his breath. "Damn it, this monster's armor is as hard as steel. There's not a single weak spot." Without hesitation, Ashue commanded the immovable, bind it. The valiant sea beast lunged forward like an arrow, clamping down on the giant crab monster's claw. It used all its might to restrain the monster. Seizing the opportunity, Ashue raised his hand, utilizing his water manipulation to summon a powerful surge. The torrent constricted the giant crab's body, attempting to restrict its movements as much as possible. A terrifying surge of power erupted from the monster. The crab monster thrashed wildly, using its monstrous strength to yank its claw free, flinging the immovable away. The powerful backlash from the jerk sent Ashue flying backward. His body slammed hard against the water's surface. A mouthful of blood spurted from Ashue's mouth. Pushing himself up with his hands, Ashue tried to compose himself. This isn't good. Mental energy was severely depleted. If this continued, suddenly, Ah-Fei shot forward like an arrow, launching a critical strike, biting hard into the thick armor on the jackal monster's body. A crisp cracking sound rang out. A small crack appeared on the steel-hard armor. Ashue was overjoyed and quickly praised. Well done, Ah-Fei. But that action enraged the giant crab. It furiously slammed down into the mud, devastating an entire lotus field. The pristine white lotus roots were crushed under its terrifying power. Witnessing this, Ashue trembled with rage. My lotus field, he exclaimed in frustration. But before he could react, a giant claw swung directly towards him. Survival instincts kicked in, and Ashue hurriedly raised his weapon to block. But the attack was too powerful. He was sent flying, crashing into the water. Crimson blood spread out, staining the surrounding water red. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes suddenly turning fierce, a murderous aura erupting from him. Today you will die here. Awei began to carefully observe every single movement of the crab monster. You must have a weakness, right? He quickly commanded, don't move. Apai clamped down on its massive claws. The two water beasts lunged forward, each grappling with one of the enormous pincers. They struggled to hold it down. He realized that despite enduring countless attacks, it instinctively protected its underbelly. So, your belly is your weak spot. Awei seized the opportunity, using all his power to control the water flow, compressing the surging current into the tip of his wooden spear. Sweat poured down his forehead. The system blared a warning. Warning! Warning! Mental strength too low. Continuing will result in backlash from the water beast. We implore you to stop immediately. But Ashue just smirked, thinking to himself, I told you today. We'll see who's the real deal. He mustered all his strength, thrusting the sharp spear forward. The wooden spear tip flew with terrifying speed, ripping through the air, creating a massive shockwave. The moment the spearhead struck the monster's tough armor, two swirling vortexes of water around the spear point erupted, generating two consecutive bursts of acceleration. Ashue roared, random as mine. The spear pierced through the giant crab's vulnerable underbelly. The monster shrieked in agony, thrashing violently before slowly collapsing onto the water surface. Ashue knelt on one knee, gasping for breath, a weary but triumphant smile on his lips. I won. As soon as he spoke, he collapsed, his consciousness fading into oblivion. Moments later, Ashue's eyelids fluttered, then slowly opened. His awareness gradually returned. He felt his entire body aching, as if he had been crushed beneath a giant boulder. He suddenly sat bolt upright, clutching his forehead and groaning. Why did I pass out? He glanced to his side, seeing Ah-Fei sitting there, intangible. Her wide eyes were fixed on him. Understanding dawned on him. And Ashue sighed. He patted the heads of the two Shui beasts gently. Did you two pull me up? Thank you. He staggered to his feet, pain shooting through his body. Ashue winced. My head hurts. I need to be more careful using that technique next time. As soon as he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly landed on something beside him. A giant crab lay motionless on the ground. Ashue's eyes widened in surprise. What is this? A star crab. He hurried closer, then grew even more astonished when he couldn't touch it. Ah-Fei stood next to the crab. This is the star crab. Quickly, bring those two things up here. Looking at the massive form of the demon crab, Ashue's eyes lit up. Such a powerful demon. I wonder how much essence it will provide. Shuei suddenly froze, crawling onto the belly of the giant crab. The little boy pointed with his tiny finger at the crab's abdomen. Ashue curiously approached, taking a closer look. Oh, it's a female. He slowly lifted the crab's apron. and was utterly astonished by what was hidden beneath. Are those eggs? Underneath the apron were countless shimmering eggs, round like tiny, beautiful pearls. They emitted a soft glow under the mystical moonlight, creating a magical scene. Asura suddenly sighed, filled with regret. If I could subdue this enormous crab, my power would surely increase dramatically. But just then, a spark ignited in Ashua's mind. His eyes lit up with excitement as he exclaimed, "Wait, I can't tame that giant crab." "But isn't there a crab larva inside this egg?" Asura quickly raised his hand, clutching the controlling blood talisman in his palm. "Can I subdue the creature inside this egg?" Without hesitation, Asura immediately made a small cut on his palm, letting fresh blood drip onto the eggshell. Simultaneously, the controlling blood talisman activated, emitting a mystical light that enveloped the egg. He stared intently at the egg, filled with anticipation, swallowing hard and praying silently. "Please work." Just a few seconds later, the egg began to tremble slightly, emitting a clicking sound. A small crack appeared on the surface. Then suddenly a tiny claw poked out, breaking through the shell. Following that, a baby crab with a translucent body slowly crawled out. Ashua's eyes widened as he looked towards Ashan. Immediately, the system announced a successful subjugation. "Congratulations, host. You have subdued the Shur Ngeo Sia stone crab." Additional information. You can use 8,000 water essence points to evolve the Shur Ngeo Sia into a Shur Ngeo Sia king. Without hesitation, Ashun began preparing the giant spirit crab. Steam billowed upwards. A tantalizing aroma filled the air, making everyone's mouth water. He quickly savored each bite of the succulent crab meat, feeling a surge of energy coursing through his body. With every swallow, as the last morsel went down his throat, the system's voice immediately rang out. Assimilation rate increased by 10.4%, reaching 36.6%. At that moment, Ashun felt a powerful surge of blood chi within him. He felt it intensely, a powerful surge of energy exploding within every fiber of his being, every blood vessel involuntarily constricting, his fists clenching tight. This overwhelming power threatened to break free, to shatter all limits. A resounding roar erupted. Ashun's entire body radiated a ferocious, potent aura. The spectral image behind him gradually solidified, awe-inspiring and terrifying. The three nearby pets widened their eyes in horror, their gazes filled with utter fear. They were facing an immense pressure, emanating from their own master. Moments later, the colossal energy gradually receded, returning to a state of tranquility. Every wound on Ashun's body vanished without a trace. Not a single mark remained of the fierce battle that had just taken place. The three pets simultaneously took a step back, their eyes gleaming with reverence. Their master, now exuding an extraordinary aura, resembled a god. Ashun slowly raised his hand. Sensing the miraculous transformation within his body, he gasped in astonishment. He never expected the fusion rate to skyrocket to such an astounding level, 36.6%. This number not only enhanced his strength, a powerful physique, high compatibility, and an incredibly abundant supplemental energy source. He could even feel the surge of blood chi coursing powerfully through his body. Suddenly recalling instructor Hu's words, that he had reached the energy level of an instructor, possibly even surpassing it. Ashun quickly divided the remaining crab eggs and meat. With untouchable, "Afei, eat up, the crab meat won't keep." As for the crab eggs, each one only provides 6 points. The water spirit essence is too meager. Looking at the tiny crab that had just hatched from the egg, Ashun smiled gently and named it, "All right, Fist. From now on your name will be Fist." But as soon as he finished speaking, his eyes suddenly darkened, a thought flashing through his mind. Cannibalism is truly cruel. Fist, never mind, forget it. He then sat down quietly, lost in thought about the path ahead. If he could reach the Jiaguan realm within a month, he would have the chance to become an official student of the prestigious martial arts school. Then, the Zhao family wouldn't be able to threaten him anymore. Ashun clenched his fists, his eyes flashing with fierce determination. It was time to return to the martial arts school and prepare for the grueling training session tomorrow morning. Elsewhere, Lu Yantian was about to strike, gouging out Chun Jieshuang's remaining eye, when a thunderous roar suddenly echoed, forcing him to stop. The mighty roar shook the entire area. Lu Yantian frowned, turning to look back. he saw a middle-aged man in martial arts attire striding towards him, wearing the insignia of the renowned Yang Family Martial Arts School. "Young Master Liu." The man's voice boomed, his eyes cold and sharp. "Liu Yintian, that's enough. The martial arts school has its rules." Liu Yintian smirked, rising to his feet casually. "So, what's Instructor Liu? But don't say I didn't warn you. Disciplining them is not my responsibility. I only act on young Master Zhao San's orders." Liu Xiaohui frowned slightly. A look of surprise flickered in his eyes. But Luo Yinkai didn't stop there. He took a step forward, looking directly into Instructor Liu's eyes, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "So, will your dog follow the rules of the martial arts school, or the rules of the Zhao household?" Liu Xiaohui gritted his teeth, his hands clenching into fists, but he restrained himself from retaliating. Seeing this, Luo Yinsai's underlings burst into mocking laughter. "Look at this dog. He's only been away from the Zhao household for a few days, and he's already forgotten who his master is." Luo Yinkai slowly approached, his voice filled with contempt. "Didn't the Zhao household take you and your father in before? If it weren't for the Zhao household, would you be where you are today? A cowardly dog, only concerned with survival, should obediently follow orders." He paused for a moment, then continued in a despicably sanctimonious tone. "If you know what's good for you and obey, I might put in a good word for you. With young Master Zhao, don't forget your father is still in the Zhao residence." Master Liu clenched his fists, his eyes filled with indignation. But in the end, he bowed his head and choked out two bitter words: "I apologize" / "I'm sorry." His heart felt as if it had been stabbed. As long as he could protect his family, he would endure any humiliation. Luo Yintian, seeing this, became even more smug and laughed loudly. "Ha ha, that's right. Know your place. Calling you Lu Go is quite fitting. / calling you Lu Dog really suits you." He and his subordinates roared with laughter. But at that very moment, a wad of spit flew straight into Luo Yintian's face. He was stunned. Chun Jieshuang, despite his bruised and battered face, held his head high and scoffed. "Huh, old man, I've never been fond of your cowardly tricks. Truly pathetic." Luo Yintian's eyes widened, and he wiped the spittle from his face. His gaze turned chillingly cold. "Oh, still got a sharp tongue, do you?" In an instant, he stomped hard on Li Liba's arm. Li Liba screamed in agony, his face paling. Luo Yintian leaned down, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Playing the hero, are we? Go ahead. I won't lay a finger on you, but I will torture your friend to death." Chun Jieshuang roared, his eyes filled with hatred. "If you have the guts, direct everything at me." Luo Yintian smirked. "You think anyone's coming to save you? Where's Instructor Xiao Hu? Who are you two pathetic losers relying on?" He had barely finished speaking. One of his men was sent flying by an immense force. Luo Yin, startled, spun around. A dark figure slowly emerged from the dust cloud, eyes like ice, radiating a chilling, killing intent. A powerful physique, like an invincible god of war. It was Asura. He quickly surveyed his surroundings, seeing his friends lying battered and bruised on the ground, their bodies covered in wounds. Rage surged within him. His hands clenched so tightly his knuckles cracked. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He growled, his voice a chilling whisper from the depths of hell. "I only want one thing. Just one thing." He took a step forward, his fists clenching tighter. His eyes burned like a raging fire. "And that's to knock every single tooth out of your heads, on a high rooftop, beneath the pale moonlight." Hu Qi and Master Yang silently observed the battle below. A cold night breeze snaked through the cracks in the roof tiles, carrying damp mist that clung to the skin. Hu Te let out a soft sigh, unending remorse flickering in his eyes. "It's all my fault. I was so overjoyed at breaking through the blood barrier. I celebrated a bit too much and arrived late. If not for that, things wouldn't have turned out this way." He pondered for a moment, then looked down at the arena, a pensive look in his eyes. "This Liu Xiaohui, I always thought he was a cold and heartless man, but I never imagined he could be so patient." Master Yang nodded, his voice calm and steady. "Though indifferent, he still possesses a shred of goodness. Unfortunately, today he was pushed to the brink, and that's why he couldn't break through the blood barrier. A martial artist without courage is like a person without breath, nothing more than a soulless husk." Hu Te replied gravely. "Asura just joined the martial arts school today, with Luo Yintian on the verge of a breakthrough. Engaging him in combat offered slim chances of victory." But just then, Master Yang's eyes suddenly lit up. As they landed on Ashue, his voice held a rare hint of excitement. Wait, there's something special about this young man's aura. Down in the arena, Luo Yintian roared with laughter, his tone dripping with contempt. Knock out all our teeth? Do you even have the ability? Ashue gritted his teeth, his eyes as sharp as ice piercing through the air. His voice was as cold as a freshly drawn blade. I said, today I will break every single one of your teeth. The words barely left his mouth before he shot forward like a hunting leopard. You're just a lowly fisherman. Come at me. One of Luo Yintian's men roared furiously, throwing a punch straight at Ashue's face. But in the blink of an eye, he dodged, then swiftly swung his leg. A thunderous kick landed squarely on his head. The thug was sent flying, crashing to the ground unconscious. The second one seized the opportunity and lunged forward, throwing a haymaker aimed at Ashue's head. But in a flash, Ashue nimbly dodged the attack and countered with a lightning-fast punch to the man's face. He howled in pain, blood gushing from his nose. The third thug didn't miss a beat, immediately launching a vicious kick towards Ashue's chest. But the boy effortlessly sidestepped the blow. You little punk, stop playing games. He'd barely finished speaking when a fist like a thunderbolt slammed into his mouth. Blood splattered everywhere as he staggered and collapsed. Ashue slowly turned his head, his eyes sharp as blades, fixed on Luo Yintian. Your turn. Luo Yintian narrowed his eyes, a sneer playing on his lips. You think that beating those small fries makes you my equal? A faint, bloody aura emanated from it. It was the telltale sign of someone about to enter a berserker rage. They locked eyes, neither willing to back down. They clashed like wild beasts, fists and feet flying. Shockwaves rippled through the air with each impact. Luo Yintian unleashed a barrage of powerful kicks, but Ashue swiftly dodged and countered. A kick to the gut sent Luo Yintian reeling. He followed up with a brutal punch to the face. Luo Yintian stumbled. Before he could recover, an uppercut landed squarely on his jaw. Blood sprayed from his nose and mouth as he collapsed. Ashue stood over him, his eyes filled with contempt. You're nothing but this. Damn you! Luo Yintian roared in fury. He pulled out a gleaming dagger and screamed, You're just a filthy fisherman. What makes you think you? He lunged forward, plunging the dagger into Ashue's stomach. Excruciating pain shot through him. Crimson blood flowed freely, but his gaze remained unwavering. Luo Yantao laughed maniacally, continuing to swing his sharp blade. You have no one to rely on, just a pathetic orphan child. Let me send you to the Yellow Springs. Ashue used his bare hands to block the incoming blade. Blood erupted from his palms, but Ashue didn't flinch. His eyes were as cold as a sharpened sword. You despicable, cowardly wretch. A fatal blow landed squarely on Luo Yantao's head. He collapsed to the ground, his head slamming against the hard surface. Blood splattered across his face. He trembled, his voice filled with panic. Don't come closer. He turned to Lu Xiaohui, screaming, What are you just standing there for? As an instructor, you're going to let him attack a fellow disciple. Lu Xiaohui gritted his teeth, but before he could respond, a great sword descended from the sky, embedding itself deeply into the ground, separating the two. Suddenly, Yang Donghong leaped down from the rooftop. His hand gripped the hilt of his sword tightly, his sharp gaze sweeping over each member of Luo Yintian's group. Kai Shui, Ding Iwuwei, Long Xiang, Chu Ji, the six of you need not return to the martial arts school. He turned to Lu Xiaohui. You, go to the confinement room and await my judgment. Lu Xiaohui bowed his head and replied, Yes, master. Ashue was deeply shocked upon hearing this. Master, could this be the legendary Yang Donghong? But they committed such a grave error today. The school surely won't let them stay. Damn, he suddenly recalled Luo Yintian's words. Who can protect you now? You're nothing but an orphan child, all alone. As I thought, it's no use, is it? But then, unexpectedly, Yang Donghong looked towards him. Are you Ashue? He nodded. Yang Donghong asked in a deep voice, Are you willing to become my personal disciple? Ashue was stunned. What? Seeing Ashue still stunned, he stepped forward and gently helped him up. 2 weeks later, at the Yang residence, an unusual buzz filled the air. Everywhere, servants bustled about, hurrying to and fro, preparing for an important event. Whispers echoed through the hallways. Rumor had it that today, the master would officially accept his 9th disciple. They also said this new disciple was quite the handsome young man. Really? I'd love to see him. I wonder what this little junior brother looks like. Amidst the lively atmosphere, an elegantly dressed young woman entered Ashue's room with graceful composure. In her hands, she carried a dark blue robe and an exquisitely crafted wooden box. She smiled, bowed slightly, and spoke softly, "Young Master Leon, these are the robes and accessories that your senior brothers and sisters have prepared for you. We've also been tasked with assisting young master with changing his clothes." Ashue was a little flustered and quickly waved his hands in refusal. "There's no need. I'll be troubling you ladies. Please excuse yourselves. Just a moment. I'll change myself right away." The girl giggled softly, covering her mouth, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Nevertheless, she obediently withdrew. Ashue closed the door, stood in the quiet room, and sighed softly. 2 weeks have passed since I defeated Luo Yintian. He clenched his fists, the feeling of that battle still vivid in his memory, as if it were just yesterday. The wounds on his body hadn't fully healed, and he couldn't forget the image of Chun Jie, Xuanli from the 3rd class, his fellow disciples who had fought alongside him in that life-or-death battle, also severely injured. Fortunately, though, thanks to Master Yang's healing, they had all recovered. Today, I am no longer alone. I have a master, senior brothers, and senior sisters. I finally have a place to belong. Ashue's eyes shone with unwavering determination. "Next, I will defeat you all." Meanwhile, in another room within the Yang residence, the atmosphere was more lively than ever. The senior disciples gathered together, chatting and laughing boisterously, excitedly discussing the newly accepted junior disciple. Hu Qi recounted the story enthusiastically, his face full of excitement. "From what I saw, junior brother Liang was truly in a desperate situation that night. Can you imagine? Someone who had only been at the martial arts school for a day was able to defeat someone on the verge of entering the Baiguan from Shuzhou." The 4th senior brother, sitting nearby, just smiled, raising his hand to stop Hu Qi with a wune, helpless tone. All right, little 7. I've heard this story for 2 weeks straight now." Xiang Chansong, the 8th senior brother, laughed heartily and patted Hu Qi on the shoulder. "But you can't deny, junior brother Liang, you've caught masters at the moment you arrived. Truly, you're a dragon among men." Chao Rang, the 6th senior brother, standing beside him, smiled and nodded in agreement. Zhuo Xiao, the 5th senior sister, chuckled and glanced at Zi Zizhou meaningfully. "4th senior brother," she said, "are you jealous of our little junior brother? What gift did you get for him this time?" Zi Zizhou immediately retorted, crossing his arms proudly. "I got him a top-notch armguard. Top quality stuff. Only cost me a small fortune." Next to them were Lu Gang, the 3rd senior brother, and Yu Kuan, the 2nd senior brother. "Haha," 4th senior brother chuckled. "Senior sister, don't tease me anymore. Do you know how hard he worked to save every single coin?" Laughter filled the room, the atmosphere lively and boisterous. "The youngest disciple has arrived." All eyes immediately turned towards the door. Ashue stepped out, dressed in formal dark blue robes. His hair was neatly combed and styled. Under the warm glow of the lanterns, his facial features appeared even more defined and striking. His deep black eyes shone with intelligence and sharpness, but also exuded pride and confidence. His handsome appearance drew silent admiration from everyone. "Greetings, senior brothers and sisters." Ashue clasped his hands in a respectful greeting, his voice filled with reverence. He glanced around the room, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, senior brothers and sisters, for the gifts." At that moment, 6 senior brothers stepped forward, clapped him on the shoulder, and boomed with laughter. "Huh, I haven't given you my gift yet." He pulled out a piece of iron and said excitedly, "Junior brother, I prepared a special gift for you. This is a block of the rarest, purest metal alloy. When you have some free time, come visit me. I'll personally forge you a superb weapon." Ashue bowed his head respectfully, sincerely thanking 6th senior brother, Lu Shixiao. Hute clapped his hands and said loudly, "All right, all the gifts have been exchanged. Let's hurry to the main hall. Don't keep master and mistress waiting too long." Everyone responded in unison. "Let's go." Laughter and chatter echoed throughout the hallway. The entire group proceeded towards the main hall, where a new chapter in Ashue's life was about to begin. Inside the Zhao residence, flickering oil lamps cast dim shadows on the vermilion and gold walls, creating a gloomy and oppressive atmosphere. The middle-aged butler bowed as he entered the study, his face tense, cold sweat beading on his forehead. He trembled as he reported, "Master, the offering has been found." "But he stammered. His voice trembled so violently that his insides felt like they were about to jump out. What? Master Zhua? A middle-aged man with a grim face, his eyes sharp as razors, immediately whirled around in a fury. Slap! A thunderous slap landed squarely on the steward's face, sending him stumbling backward, a bright red handprint etched onto his cheek. You useless fool! Do you know what kind of calamity we'll face if this gets out? The master roared through gritted teeth. If the authorities come knocking, you'll use your own head to atone for this. The steward pleaded desperately. Master, it was all that Asu's fault. I'm sure he killed old man Zhang. And let that thing loose. Master Zhuan narrowed his eyes, a cold glint flashing within them. Asu, according to Zhua Air, he's become Yang Donghayang's formal disciple. He clenched his fist. His voice dropped, laced with a chilling, icy intent. Do you dare try? Just how sharp is Yang Donghyuk's blade? The steward hung his head, barely daring to breathe. Listen carefully. The old master gritted his teeth. His voice a low growl like a wild beast. No matter the method, you must find it immediately, at all costs. Why, yes. I will go right away. The steward hastily wiped his sweat, bowing and backing away nervously. Master Zhu remained standing in his study, his eyes cold and sharp as a viper's, silently waiting for his prey to fall into his trap. Meanwhile, in the main hall of the Yang residence, a solemn and quiet atmosphere filled the vast room. 2 rows of disciples stood in neat lines on either side, their eyes filled with admiration as they looked towards the center. Yang Donghyuk, a middle-aged man, radiating an air of authority and respect, sat regally upon the head chair. His gaze was as deep as the vast ocean, holding countless mysteries. Ashue, his voice boomed, warm yet powerful. You are grateful, know how to repay kindness, and possess exceptional courage. You are sincere, diligent, and hardworking. I wish to take you as my disciple. Do you accept? Ashue immediately dropped to one knee, bowing his head deeply, his voice firm. I am willing. Yang Donghong nodded slightly in satisfaction. His eyes gleamed with joy. As my disciple, you must remain humble, patient, and diligently trained. You must respect your teacher and elders and be filial to your parents. You must not harm your fellow disciples, nor be rebellious or unfilial, nor commit evil deeds or bully the weak. He paused, his sharp gaze fixed on Ashue. His calm voice resonated. Do you understand and remember these things? Without hesitation, Ashue's voice rang out with determination and resolve. Disciple, Ashue will remember your teachings. Yang Donghong smiled with satisfaction. He raised the teacup on the table, his eyes gleaming with magnanimity and authority. After you drink this tea as part of the discipleship ceremony, you will officially become my 9th direct disciple. Yang Donghong paused for a moment, then continued, from now on, no one will dare to bully you. No one will dare to insult you. I will be your unwavering support. Do you understand? Ashue clasped his hands, bowing deeply, his voice filled with resolve. Disciple, je understand. Meanwhile, many were envious and jealous of Ashue. After the training session, they immediately started talking behind his back. Did you hear? I heard that Ashue became Master Yang's direct disciple. That's right. What a glow-up for that penniless nobody. What angered him the most was the humiliating expulsion of his lame disciples from the martial arts school. Could there be any greater shame? Rumor had it, there was a mastermind pulling the strings behind the scenes. Zhao Shuiyuan was the one orchestrating everything. He gritted his teeth, cursing the detestable Ashue. Elsewhere, Ashue was sitting and chatting with Hu Qi. Hu Qi asked his junior, do you know what the 4 gates and 7 paths are? Ashue smiled in response. I only know skin, flesh, bone, and blood are the first 4 gates, but I'm not clear about the 7 paths that follow. Hu Qi explained, the so-called 7 paths are galloping horse, wolf smoke, tiger's fury, python elephant, azure dragon, and crucible of crimson. At the peak of the galloping horse realm, one can pull dozens of galloping horses without flinching. In the wolf smoke realm, vital energy rises like burning smoke, soaring for thousands of feet, like a deity. When this power erupts, it gives the feeling of being surrounded by a pack of wolves. Its aura truly terrifying. The tiger's fury realm, blood and chi surge and churn like a raging tide. When this divine power erupts, ordinary people tremble in terror, like a rabbit before a ferocious beast. Facing this savage tiger's might, even the bravest hearts would crumble. The python elephant realm. Each movement shakes the very earth, possessing the strength to topple mountains and dry up rivers. The azure dragon realm, where one becomes like a celestial dragon descended to earth, free from all earthly constraints, unbound and unrestrained. A single step spanning 1,000 miles, soaring through the 9 heavens. This is the martial saint, the pillar of a nation. As for the condensing furnace and transforming spirit realms, I don't know much. Legend has it that those who reach these realms achieve ultimate perfection, fully prepared to ascend to immortality. Asura listened intently, lost in deep thought. The martial arts in this world were truly astonishing. If he could reach the level of ascension, could he possibly return to his old world? He then asked Hute, "Master, what realm have you reached?" Chi pushed himself up, looking at Asura with affection. "Little junior brother, do you know how many martial arts schools are currently operating in Pingyang Town?" After a moment of contemplation, Asura replied, "I'd estimate around 3. Chi nodded, continuing, "Those 2 other schools can only survive in Pingyang Town because their strength is only enough to maintain operations in such a small place. But Master Yang chose Pingyang Town because this is his hometown, his roots. Our school has consistently topped the rankings for so many years, thanks to Master Yang, because he's the only martial artist in Pingyang Town to reach the profound realm of taming the tiger." Sudden understanding dawned on Asura. With the system's help, he could quickly reach that ultimate realm. Chi smiled with satisfaction. That concludes this morning's lesson. Little junior brother, don't be too hasty about reaching a higher realm. Take it one step at a time. Slow and steady wins the race. Asura bowed his head respectfully. "Thank you, senior brother, for your guidance." He then thought to himself that doing so would alleviate some of the pressure on the Zhao household. Continuing on his way, he told himself he needed to catch an abalone quickly to break through to the Pai Guan stage, officially joining the ranks of true martial artists. On a beautiful sunny day, with the water as clear as jade and the sun shining brightly, Asura once again set out to sea. He cast his net, and it came back overflowing with fish impossible to untangle, catching so many that the boat's hold was packed full, leaving no more room. The young man even considered the need to trade for a larger boat to have enough space. Despite catching so many fish, unfortunately, Asura still hadn't found an abalone. He wondered when he would ever catch another one. Asura checked the system. The fusion rate had reached 37%. If he could catch an abalone, he would have a chance to break through to Pai Guan. Suddenly, the young man was startled as the water surface abruptly churned violently, large waves surging unexpectedly. What's happening? What is that? He wondered himself. Appearing before Asura was a gigantic toad, clutching an equally large bird in its mouth. Things are looking bad. The more ferocious they become, the more Ashua's boat takes a beating. Water floods in, washing away the color from his fish, sweeping them away. The boat splinters and breaks apart. With a loud crack, the young man plunges into the water. This is bad. It's a psychic attack. Just like that, he drifts unconsciously into sleep. When he opens his eyes, the sky is pitch black. Asura is being dragged ashore. Beside him is the crab named Quan Tu. He asks in a daze, I just passed out. How did you save me?" Loud ringing sounds echo around him. Asura clutches his aching head. It's the cry of that bird from before that knocked me out. How can this demon's power be so terrifying? Wouldn't the spirit that caught it be even more frightening? Sigh. All this work for nothing. My boat's wrecked, and my fish are gone. The grand plan to break through the skin tempering stage had to be postponed. His body suddenly went numb, unable to move. Mon crept closer, gesturing with his hands. In his mouth, he held a blood-red bat. Ashua's face lit up with joy. "Oh my God, my precious. I could try to break through the skin tempering stage right now." Blood chi reflects the physical strength of a martial artist. But a martial artist isn't strong just because of abundant blood chi. It's because of a strong physique that allows for the condensation of plentiful blood chi. Blood chi isn't the source of strength, but the result of physical prowess. This result can promote the circulation of life energy, operating continuously, eternally inexhaustible. As night fell, Ashu'a lit a stick of incense and began to meditate. Before him, a pot of water was bubbling fiercely. In the faint smoke of the incense, Ashue recalled Hu Chi's words when he gave him that item. This is called soul-condensing incense. It can help martial artists break through realms more easily, breaking through skin tempering, entering the 8th realm. The essence of a true martial artist lies in forging the surging blood chi within their chest. Each time this intense blood chi training is performed, it's crucial to replenish energy with fresh fish. This was the 38th time Ashue had endured this arduous process. Just a little bit more. Ashue gritted his teeth determined. He recalled Hu Chi's teachings. The secret to breaking through Pai Guan, ascending to the next level, lay in utilizing profound blood chi and internal strength to vigorously stimulate the fascia and skin throughout the body, thereby maximizing the effectiveness of Lien Pai training. Blood chi is the latent energy that manifests in the chest. When one practices martial arts, it's the essence condensed from the entire body, the root of life, the foundation of existence. When you can sense a warm current spreading from your chest, permeating every muscle fiber, merging with the blood chi in your chest to form a powerful flow, coursing through your bones, limbs, and finally muscles and skin, transforming into a surging thermal energy. That is Lien Pai. After completing the tempering process, the body will become incredibly strong, emitting a brillant aura. The heart will also radiate a shimmering golden light. Ashue suddenly opened his eyes, gasping for breath, a grimace of discomfort on his face. This was already his 40th attempt. But unfortunately, he was still just a little bit short of success. The notification panel appeared again. Peak Master Ashue refining Sure Spirit Water Monkey by Fusion rate 49%. Water Marsh Essence. Unable to control Water Beast Tai Hua Alligator. Cost 779 points. Water Marsh Essence can transform into Hornwood Alligator. Control Water Beast 6-gill Catfish. Cost 779 points. Water Marsh Essence can evolve into Tiger Head Catfish. Control Water Beast Stone Turtle. Cost 8,000 points. Water Marsh Essence can evolve into Stone Turtle. Wong stared intently at the electronic board, where a 49% compatibility rate was displayed. Ashue stroked his chin, muttering 49%, but unfortunately, it's still a bit short, hasn't quite made it over the threshold. But I have a feeling that when it reaches 50%, there will definitely be a significant change. We're all out of fish. Right now, the effects of the lotus root are extremely limited for me. Looks like the only option left is to catch an abalone. Ashue rubbed his neck, sighing as sunlight streamed through the window. Time sure flies. It's already morning. Just then, Chun Chung, Chun Jieshuang's father, and Li Dekong, Li Liba's father, arrived at the front door. Ashue, I saw you came home yesterday. So, I came specifically to ask you about something. Ashue rushed to the door to greet Uncle Li enthusiastically. Uncle Li, what is it? Just tell me. Ashue realized these two men were Li Liba and Chun Jieshuang's fathers, but he didn't understand why they were here. Li Dekong said with a smile, "It's nothing serious. Just wanted to ask, why hasn't our boy been? Is my son home yet? Is he still at the martial arts school? Or is he wandering around somewhere again?" Exactly. My boy isn't home either, so I came by to see what was going on. Ashue scratched his head, giving a nervous laugh. We got back so late last night, we forgot to tell Uncle Li and Uncle Chun. The three of us performed well, so Master was pleased, and let us stay in a room at his house. So we haven't gone home yet. We're focusing on our training. Ashue suddenly remembered the other two's injuries, one with a head injury, the other with a broken arm. I bet they're too embarrassed to go home because of their injuries. Hearing this, Li Daqiang burst into laughter. That's my boy. Our Yixing town has some pretty talented martial artists after all. Chun Chung added cheerfully. Haha, I've watched Ashue and our two boys grow up together since they were little. I knew those three kids. Your future is certainly bright. Alright, Ashue, I came here this time to remind you. Our village will soon hold a river god sacrifice ceremony. Hearing this, Ashue froze, a vague memory of this custom flickering in his mind. But didn't old Batang already hold it before? Chun Chung, ignoring his surprised expression, continued. That's right. Yesterday the river god revealed himself. We must hold the sacrificial ceremony. Exactly. The river god leaped from the water and snatched a Mao Huodin Yao, shaking the very sky. Ashue suddenly understood. They were talking about the giant toad from the other day. Understanding the situation, Ashue said to Chun Chung and Li Dekong, Uncle Li, I understand. I'll contribute money to the ceremony. Ashué, don't forget. Meanwhile, inside the Hua Grotto, the gently flowing water suddenly turned violet. Ashué burst from the water, a sharpened wooden stake clutched in his hand. He nimbly hopped onto a rocky outcrop, pausing for breath, before plunging back into the rushing current. Bukadong lunged forward, jaws agape, but Ashué swiftly dodged. He silently calculated. This current's force can control about 300 pounds and can be compressed and released within 10 liters of water, meaning each liter carries the force of 30 pounds. Ashué gathered momentum, unleashing a decisive strike. Water style, Bukadong had no time to react. Afei remained calmly in place, observing Ashué's attack. The attack dissipated before reaching them. Seeing this, the two creatures instantly transformed into adorable chibi forms. Despite missing his target, Ashué's water control had now surpassed Bai Guan's. He could probably take down those 4 Liu Yankai guys easily. The system suddenly displayed Ashué's status information. Refinement of Zhiling Shui Hozi by 49% fusion. Shueisha essence, 0%. River care level, none. Aquatic beast control, Tai Hua alligator. Cultivation, Nian Yu Shi Ngao Xia. Cultivating the Nian Yu Shi Ngao technique. Assessment. The Shui Hozhiling originates from the Huai Oa Jiju, but its power has not been fully awakened. Character, small and weak. Ashué looked at the wooden stake in his hand, sighing in frustration at this Shui Rin technique. If only I had a proper weapon. He recalled what his 3 senior brothers had said, that in this world there existed a type of weapon called Ling Wu, capable of self-repair and leveling up. However, to possess a weapon of this rank, one usually needed to combine it with heavenly treasures during its creation. The core, the mysterious black sword radiated a powerful aura, something Awei deeply desired. He wasn't sure when he would ever possess such a magnificent weapon. Lost in thought, Awei sighed unconsciously. Suddenly, Awei noticed a strange movement. Something unusual was happening. What's going on? A face signaled to him. He was intently observing a large pile of rocks. It seems like there's some movement beneath the rocks. Beneath the thick layer of stones, a feather shimmering with a mystical glow suddenly appeared. It must be a feather dropped by the giant bird, but it looks so unique. Awei stared at the strange feather, wondering if it was a heavenly treasure and why it looked so extraordinary. He thought to himself, I need to go to 6 senior brothers' forge later to check on the weapon. I'll ask him about this feather too. Pingyang County. As Ashué walked, he rummaged through his memories, trying to recall the location of his 3rd senior brother's forge. Just then, he spotted a plume of black smoke billowing into the sky in the distance. Judging by the distance, it seemed quite close to Pingyang County. Ashué decided to take the opportunity to ask his 6th senior brother. 6th senior brother, Lu Chong, was diligently working at the forge, bringing down his hammer with a mighty blow before pausing. Ah, junior brother Liang, you're here. Ashué handed Lu Chong a pouch. 6th senior brother, I caught something troublesome while fishing this morning, so I came to ask for your expertise. Lu Chong nearly cried out in shock when he saw Ashué's troublesome catch. Red earth fire feather. This is a truly rare treasure. Lu Chong stared at the feather with wide eyes. Ashué was secretly impressed. To stumble upon such a treasure and not be overjoyed would be madness. But he was still curious about what his 6th senior brother knew about it. Junior brother Liang, do you know the origin of this crimson feather? Lu Gang began to tell the story. This feather belongs to a demon named Chihua. Whenever it faces a life-threatening danger, it will concentrate all of its life essence into a single feather. Then, these feathers scatter everywhere, allowing it to escape. Among these feathers, there will be one containing the most life essence, called the Chihua Golden Feather. It will use this feather to regenerate, like a lizard shedding its tail. But instead of just losing its tail, it sacrifices its entire body. Ashué's eyes lit up upon hearing this. So powerful? Then isn't this feather of mine the golden feather? Of course, it's not the golden feather. If it were the golden feather, we wouldn't be able to get near it. Lu Gang laughed, throwing cold water on Ashué's excitement, which left him momentarily stunned. But he continued, I advise you to forge it into a soul-bound weapon, instead of simply absorbing its energy. Junior brother, have you decided what kind of weapon you want? Regarding that matter, Asura has given it much thought. Based on my previous spar with Shurengeo, a long-handled weapon would be more suitable for underwater combat. Furthermore, it could be combined with my self-created techniques. Therefore, Asura is confident in requesting a spear. Liu Gang was taken aback. A spear is quite a rare choice in our martial arts school. While a long weapon offers reach advantages, it's also more difficult to control. I've made up my mind. Please, senior brother, incorporate this feather into the weapon. Asura desires a weapon with a spirit. Liu Gang smiled and agreed. He added that he would send someone to inform Asura when the weapon was ready. Asura clasped his hands together, sincerely thanking his benefactor. He suddenly recalled the pillar of black smoke that had filled the sky earlier, and hastily asked Liu Gang what it was. Liu Gang's demeanor abruptly changed, his face darkening, veins bulging on his forehead. That was Fa Hua Temple. It burned down to the ground this morning, and in that terrifying inferno, something appeared that shouldn't have. The flames raged fiercely. Asura was taken aback by Liu Gang's sudden shift in mood. Something that shouldn't have appeared? Could it be a mountain demon? A dreadful place filled with terrifying monsters. Inside that mountain demon's lair, there are only chilling sounds. You said they shouted something at you? What was it? They said, "We're Dan Kai and Dan Chi." An old man wearing a hat, holding a knife with a strange handle. He said it was all for his old mother. This young monk looked at him as if he were looking at a demon, so frightened that his face turned pale, his head drenched in sweat, stammering. From the eruption of flames, a terrifying anomaly was born, something that should not exist. A monstrous demon materialized, its head grotesquely veined and swollen, a horrifying sight. Its eyes were pitch black as tar, yet they held an eerie glow, shining like headlights, and its sparse teeth were stained with fresh blood. It turned towards the group below, its gaze filled with murderous intent. They murmured amongst themselves, their faces etched with terror. Could that be a monster? One stammered. Its power, could it rival the Zhan Ma Xing? Another exclaimed. Warhorse Star. Meanwhile, someone gasped, their breath shallow, but still desperately crying out for help. Rewind to the moments before the eruption, when all was still peaceful. The air was calm, the scenery serene, with no sign of impending doom. But a terrifying storm was silently approaching, bringing death and destruction. A heavily pregnant woman struggled through the dense forest, fleeing in fear. She saw a monk sweeping the courtyard of a temple, and in a moment of desperation, she knew she had to seek help. The woman mustered her remaining strength and let out a desperate cry for help. Her cries echoed, finally, catching the attention of the young monk. But exhausted from her long flight, she collapsed to the ground. Before losing consciousness, she caught a glimpse of her worried little master, rushing towards her. When she awoke, another monk was present. Seeing her open her eyes, everyone rejoiced. Master, the female benefactor has awakened. The Grand Master, with a bristly white beard, shaved head, and heavy-lidded eyes, chanted, Amitabha, female benefactor, you are finally awake. The woman clutched her head, trying to sit up. Abbot, where am I? This is Fa Temple. What happened to you? The woman's eyes welled up with tears as she began to recount her story. I'm originally from Huazhou County. 3 months ago, I went to Pingyang County to visit relatives, but unfortunately, I encountered a group of bandits in strange, mystical attire. Then the woman was bound, blindfolded, and taken to a mysterious place. When the blindfold was removed, he was met with a horrifying sight. Countless corpses lay scattered, grotesquely disfigured. It was truly a living hell. Those who were still alive had been tortured and tormented to the point of becoming demonic. The old abbot appeared puzzled, asking, could they have tied you up for a mere pittance? Old man, have you lost your mind? These are evil demons, refining humans into ghosts. Why would they desire money? The woman was terrified. Her words fragmented and stuttered. No, they said, we're alchemy ingredients. Alchemy ingredients, they cast spells on them, making their bellies swell up, their bodies pale, thin, and emaciated as if drained of blood. The evil beings continuously chanted with clasped hands. At the same time, the lead demon swung his knife, slicing out a disgusting lump of blood and flesh. Repulsive mass. Witnessing this scene, Asya grimaced, exclaiming, truly terrifying sorcery. Tell me, what are these stomachs? Longguin dung, asked coldly. These are Taizhou pills, personally refined by the High Envoy. They were forced to drink a broth made from mountain demon flesh. Regardless of whether they are male or female, their bellies will swell, becoming pregnant with these flesh spheres. These flesh spheres, after 3 months, will condense into Tai Huan pills. After refinement, they become Taizhou pills. It's said that consuming them grants immortality. 3 months to condense. What happens if it goes beyond 3 months? If they aren't removed after 3 months, they will hatch. Hatch into what? Long Wendung looked at Ha with icy eyes. Colder than the Arctic. You don't want to know. Meanwhile, at Fawa Temple, Jiming, your senior brother has gone into the city to report to the officials. You go and take the vegetarian meal to the female donor. Yes, master. Jiming obediently went to deliver the meal. The boy stood at the door and asked, female donor, are you inside? There was no answer. Upon entering the pitch-black room, he saw the female devotee lying motionless on the bed, not stirring an inch. Jimin assumed she was sound asleep, but then froze, his eyes catching something at the foot of the bed. A pungent, coppery smell assaulted his nostrils. A pair of legs, slick with blood, came into view. Jimin's face paled with terror. He tried to call out to the devotee, but received no response. Trembling, he raised his eyes to the bed. The poor devotee had already breathed her last, her eyes still wide open in a vacant stare. The horrific scene before him filled Ji-min with utter dread, causing him to drop the food tray with a clatter. A drop of warm blood splattered down, landing directly on his head. Ji-min trembled as he looked up, and he saw a grotesque monster. Its head was grotesquely swollen, its eye sockets like deep black pits. Its eyes glowed like headlights, fixed on Ji-min. Its teeth were jagged and sparsely spaced, a chilling sight. Blood dripped steadily from its sharp, scythe-like blade. Meanwhile, the master was on his way back with the soldiers. The 2 constables looked at the man walking behind them with respect. Many thanks this time, young Master Lu. You volunteered to assist us in coming here to investigate. Otherwise, we would have had to trouble the old master to find someone, and then young Master Lu looked at the middle-aged man, reluctantly nodding in response. There's no need for formalities, Constable Wong. This is the duty of a martial artist of the Martial Arts Bureau. That old master gave very specific instructions that, this time at Fawa Temple, you must assist the Zhao Prefecture in concealing some bodies within the temple, and also bring that object inside out. Young Master Lu curiously asked what it was, but the man only vaguely said that. He didn't need to know. He would naturally understand what it was when he saw it. Just then, the monk announced, the 3 officials are just ahead. This is this humble monk's Fahua Temple. At this moment, the entire Fahua Temple was shrouded in a chilling, somber atmosphere of grief. The door swung open, revealing a horrific scene. Bodies lay scattered everywhere, blood staining the ground crimson, flowing in streams. The young novice was overcome with shock and terror. He rushed off, desperately searching for his master. His actions were so sudden and unexpected that the constables couldn't stop him even if they tried. Constable Wong immediately dispatched Xiao Luo to chase after him. He and young Master Lu would remain to examine the scene more thoroughly. Young Master Lu observed for a long moment, then offered his assessment. Most of the bodies have deep bite marks, lacerations, as if they were attacked by a large tiger. But what kind of tiger could be this big? It's strange. Moreover, none of the bodies are intact. They've all been torn to shreds. Young Master Lu frowned, lost in thought. Damn it, he muttered. Could what Zheng Xiang, that damn brat, said be true? Could some of these deaths have been caused by that thing? Still immersed in his thoughts, Constable Wong beside him suddenly cried out in alarm. Patches of blood stained the ground, seemingly stretching in this direction. It looked as if a body had been dragged along the path. The Fahua Temple, now shrouded in ominous darkness, was surrounded by bare, withered branches. The trail of blood ended here. Shaola and the monk were also here. The 2 of them quickly approached. The young monk was so horrified that he collapsed to his knees, his face ashen, sweat pouring down him. Constable Wong and young Master Lu were also utterly terrified by the sight before them. Constable Wong, completely stunned, let out a string of profanities. What in the world was this monstrosity? What had happened in this forsaken place? Young Master Lu frowned in deep thought. Could this be what Zheng Xiang wanted him to bring? Out of here, If so, this was a truly sinister matter, because the bizarre object was shaped like a massive, colossal egg. Its shell was stained with gruesome, fresh blood, and the bottom of the egg clung tightly, sucking onto lifeless bodies. The young monk, though terrified out of his wits, instinctively, with what little soul he had left, mumbled a Buddhist prayer. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Just then, the heavy door suddenly slammed shut. Constable Wong rushed over, pounding on the door, hoping someone outside would hear and open it. But young Master Lu warned, "Now's not the time to worry about the door. It's about to hatch." The giant egg began to tremble and convulse. The crisscrossing veins on its surface bulged, like an overinflated balloon about to burst. Constable Wong frantically asked young Master Lu, "What in the world is that?" He replied, "It's a mountain demon egg, a hallmark of the demon mother cult." The egg shook more and more violently, nearing the point of breaking. Constable Wong was utterly terrified. The demonic kindergarten, remnants of the previous dynasty? Once a demon egg hatches, it absorbs enough flesh and blood to enter its second stage. Now, the nest has been built. It's about to evolve to the second stage. Even young Master Lu felt a chill run down his spine at the sight of this creature. This monster possesses power rivaling that of Benma. And Benma right now, a withered arm, like a dry tree branch, emerged from the monster's eggshell. Soon after, a leg poked out as well. It has hatched, a stage 2 mountain demon, a monster with long limbs, an emaciated body, moving like a spider. But unfortunately, it only has 4 limbs. The young monk could do nothing but chant Buddhist sutras. Truth be told, even if Buddha himself appeared at this moment, the situation would be beyond salvation. But Buddha did not appear. The young monk chanting Buddha's name was instantly snatched up by the demon in a fatal blow to the throat. Shaola panicked, drawing his sword to save the young monk. But Constable Wong stopped him. "He's not going to make it, and neither are you." The mountain demon grabbed Shaola, tossing him around like a rag doll. Violently thrown around, Shaola was dazed and vomited blood. But the monster wasn't done. It continued to grip Xiao La's face tightly. Terrified, Xiao La struggled and cried out, "Young Master Lu, save me! Young Master Lu, help!" At this moment, young Master Lu stood frozen, petrified by the demon's terrifying power, the galloping horse realm, and he hadn't even broken through the 4 apertures yet. He knew he had to retreat and preserve his strength. Even if he had to use all his might to break down the door and escape, it wouldn't be a problem. But if he recklessly ran out with this monster, while he hesitated, the mountain ghoul roared a terrifying scream, mingled with Xiao La's shrieks of terror. Lu Xiaohui's survival-first mentality became stronger than ever. He had always lived by this principle. Just turn a blind eye, just don't see. Just as long as he was safe. Just as long as his father was safe and sound. But now he felt truly cruel and heartless. "Young Master Lu, save me." Shaola, clinging to a sliver of hope, continued to scream for help. This was a slap to his conscience, spurring Lu Xiaohui into action. He drew his sword, its sharp blade flashing, causing the monster to pause its attack. On Shaola, Lu Xiaohui swung his sword, forcing the monster to release Xiao La and retreat. He shielded Xiao La, teeth gritted in a ferocious snarl. "It seems today, I'll have to see just how powerful this wild horse really is."